Grand Rising family, welcome. I'm happy to see everybody. Check in, let us know where you're hailing from. I know it's quite early for me to be going live this morning, but I have to educate my grandchildren this morning, and I wanted to make sure I got a live out of the way before they started their lessons. So happy Friday! Yay! It is Friday and it is May the 15th. So happy 15th, 2026, and it is 9:11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I was waiting for 9:11 a.m. Check in. Welcome. Hey,
Dr. Kiapruitt, shining wisdom's light, teaching soul tribe how to see through the
hi, Black Beauties. Good to see you. Happy Friday. Hi, Sister Dana. Hi, Chicago Southside. Laney's in the house. Willie's in the house. Arvetta Lassiter Bay, Grand Rising. Good to see you, sis. Sunflowers here, Chicago. Hello. Patricia's in the house. Jasmine's in the house. Grant's in the house. Grand Rising. Nick's here. Good to see so many people this rising. Diane's here. Hey, Jeffrey. Welcome, Tanisha. Come on in, family. Hi, Sister Ellen. Hossein. Enjoy the music.
That hold us close, teaching pass to abundance and wealth, guiding others to free themselves. Soul tribe rising, hear her call, raising vibrations for one and all. Dr. Kia shows the way to a brighter, freer day. From currencies to investments divine.
This is my favorite part of the song. Come on in, second family.
With wisdom, ancient and new, showing what we all can do. Soul tribe rising, hear her call, raising vibrations for one and all.
Absolutely. It's a beautiful time to be alive. I agree. Check in, family.
Brighter, freer day. Soul tribe rising, hear a call, raising vibrations for one and all. Dr. Kia lights the way to a new and brighter day.
Check in, family. Mhm. All right, welcome. Grand Rising. Today is, as we said earlier, Friday, May the 15th, 2026. And the time now is 9:15 a.m. So happy 15, 9:15, May 15. Welcome, Soul Tribe. I thought I'd come on earlier today because my grandchildren are on their way over. They were with my son last night, so they're on their way here, and I wanted to get this live out the way before we started our show. So, Grand Rising, It's good to see all of you. You like the theme song? Thank you. Thank you. Brother Kenneth wrote the theme song for me. Pray for him. He just lost his mother. His name is Brother Kenneth, but he doesn't, I don't give his last name because he doesn't really want to be known for writing the song. He doesn't want any accolades, I guess, but I'm so grateful for him because I love the song. It really resonates with me and it sums up what we do over here. So thank you all for supporting me. I want to say that some of you have sent me donations and I'm so grateful. Thank you. Cash App is not currently not completely complying right now or working well. So they'll send you your money back. Well, they've been sending people their money back until they rectify the situation. So that's okay. We're still going to go on with the show. I do have a PayPal link, and here it is on the screen. You could just do PayPal.me, kiapruitt, or something like that. But my email address is kiapruitt@gmail.com if you want to send a donation. But that's not what we're here for. We're here to talk about how the government has been dissolved. I don't think that the masses understand the severity of this government shutdown. Now, in order to try to keep people calm, what the government is saying is that we're under a partial shutdown. But partial shutdown, full shutdown is all the same because the government has been dissolved. We know that because if you fast forward to or go back in time to 2014, the Pope at the time, Pope Francis, sent a letter to Obama, the letter called Motu Proprio, basically saying that their time was up. In that letter, he let the establishment know, and everybody that knew of the letter, know that the United States was not necessarily a country. America is a country, but the United States was a corporation, and all presidents were presidents of the corporation, and they did what was in the best interest of the stakeholders of the corporation, not what's in the best interest of we the people. But they were beholden to the British crown and to the Pope. So the Pope, when he sent that letter, said, we must stand down. Our time is up. We are a nonprofit religious organization that was incorporated in 1871 in the state of Delaware, and all precedents serve the best interest of the corporation and the British crown, as well as everybody that passed the bar exam. So attorneys and judges don't do what's in the best interest of we the people. They're concerned about the crown and what serves what, lines up with their pockets. So before I continue on, I do want to show you this video that I posted. It's very brief about the scam of the United States Incorporated. But that letter that Pope Francis sent to President Obama was serious because he said policy enforcers enforce policies of the United States Incorporated. Judges and attorneys are not lawyers or lawful attorneys, but they serve the best interest of the British crown. So all court officials, all policy enforcers, all agencies attached to the federal government, including all 441, now there are 445 agencies, some of which departments of certain things like FBI, CIA, CPS, all of those departments had to stand down, according to the Pope. Well, that was in 2014 when he sent the letter to President Obama. You fast forward to 2024, 10 years later, the Supreme Court of the United States overturned the Chevron doctrine. And they said in that overturning of the Chevron doctrine was a doctrine that had given the government, the United States Incorporated, unlimited powers. And anytime you try to challenge the United States Incorporated, then you would be hauled off the court and the judges would be complicit in the scam, saying that this was a lawful government and you had to comply with all their statutes, codes, and policies. And if you didn't, you can get arrested by their policy enforcers. So the Supreme Court of the United States overturned that Chevron doctrine. And they said that the government, the United States Incorporated, was operating fraudulently. They were treasonous, unconstitutional, unlawful, and they had to be dismantled. This is why the following year, because that was 2024, President Trump came back, which he never left. This is his third presidency of the corporation. Some people argue with you and say he's the president of the republic. But that's neither here nor there. He came back and he issued out 225 executive orders. Then he met with the military and the National Guard, and he sent them to the major cities in America in order to do massive arrests. So you have National Guard doing massive arrests, and you also have, and you look at one of my reports that I did on my YouTube channel, you have FBI raids that are raiding banks, CEO offices, mayor offices, governor offices, airports, water ports on the land, water ports. They're raiding all these different places, banks, all different places, and arresting people that have been caught up in massive fraud. Okay, so I'm going to pause here. I'm going to show you a video that talks about the fraud. One second. This one here, Scam Alert, the United States Inc. is broke. Let me see if I can. I just want you all to see this, and then I'll go on with the show and try not to be too long. There we are. Grand Rising. Hey, ooh, what's going on here? I'm going to see if I could do this for you.
States, and how do we get here?
Hold on, let me see.
What is the factual history of the United States, and how do we get here?
I'll speed it up.
Diane, are you going to take that, or am I?
Oh, no, you go for it, Dennis.
Okay, the factual history of the United States. Everything was going well until the Civil War. And everybody thinks that the Civil War was a conflict between the North and the South over slavery and so on like that. Well, it wasn't. It was about corporations. It was a corporate war, just like all of the other wars that the United States has been involved with. It all started there. And after the Civil War, they never went back and formed the Federation of States. The British territorial came over and they started putting in their own government. They never told the people that it had to be reconstructed after the war. So since then, Britain has been putting in their agents and their governments or whatever. The government that we have now does not belong to us. They're a foreign government. They don't even belong in our soil. Attorneys, and they're the worst, they work for the Queen. Anytime you get an attorney, they're there to screw you out of as much money as they possibly can. And they always tell you, hey, we're here for you, but it's total opposite. They're here to gouge you for as much money as they can possibly get. They're trying to keep everybody in America broke. That's why the so-called government, we call them the de facto, is totally foreign. In fact, most people don't know this, but the elections on November 3rd of this past year, whether Donald Trump or Joe Biden became president, on November 5th, the municipal corporation that they were being elected president for was liquidated. So they would have been president for 2 days. So it's all a scam, what's going on now.
Now, what do you mean? What do you mean that it was liquidated?
The United States was liquidated. It's a corporation. And we also have the United States of America, territorial. They are in bankruptcy. So they're both corporations. The United States, Inc. That's what the president of the United States runs for. He's running for president of a corporation. That'd be like you and I going out and say, voting for Burger King to who's the top dog at Burger King or McDonald's. We're voting for people of a corporation to run that. So it's all a scam. They have no money. None. The 160 trillion in debt is owed to we, the people. We are the owners of the land and soil. Everything that is here, we have paid for through our supposedly taxes. Okay, you don't have to pay taxes. Taxes are voluntary. It's all a scam. Just like this COVID thing, it's a total scam. It's all to hide the fraud of the elections.
So, everything's a scam.
While many foreign students legitimately pursued.
This was actually the British, part of the British government. But this is why recently Charles III came here and gave a speech to President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump. Basically, that was a concession speech saying that, okay, you all were beholden to the British crown, but we are conceding. We have to stand down, just like the Pope Francis had said in 2014. So we all knew that the United States was insolvent, but now we're getting verification of that. I wanted to show you, let's see if I can find where the Treasury Department actually finally admitted that the United States incorporated. The fake government is insolvent. That means they can't pay their debts. Now, the report was actually issued out in September of 2025. Remember, I said Trump came back in 2025. He issued out 225 executive orders. He met with the military and then sent them out. I hear the sirens confirming me. That's right. Come on. But mainstream media missed it. It's not that they missed it. The article says they missed it. It's not really that they missed it. It's that they didn't report it. I see this pop-up came up. But basically the article, you can see it here, the Treasury just declared the United States insolvent. That happened in 2025. That's why the government was shut down. Somebody asked in the comment section, wait, we're still under a government shutdown? Yes. Look, if you look it up, it'll say we're under a partial government shutdown. I guess I have to get access to read the rest of this article, but the U.S. government is insolvent. That's not hyperbole. It's the conclusion drawn directly from the Treasury Department's own consolidated financial statement for fiscal year 2025, released last week to near total media silence. I reported this once I discovered it several weeks ago, but from a Marine who discovered it. A former Marine, military, some of them know what's going on, a veteran. When he discovered, they now reported it to the Soul family. Yes, the media missed it because they don't want you to know. The numbers 6.06, you can see that number 6 trillion in total assets against 47.48 trillion in total liabilities as of September the 30th, 2025. Why do they keep mentioning number 6? 666, the number of man. What is it? Is it carbon? 6 protons, 6 neutrons, 6 electrons. The reason why they keep talking about 666 is because, I'm just going to be honest, this is a bloodline war. I've been saying that. It's a bloodline war between certain entities outside of the earth realm. I'll try not to get too woo-woo. But the bloodline war is against some of the entities that were seated in Tamara or America here and other beings that came to the planet. And this is why you have a lot of people coming to America, because the beings that came here who have an ought against the Tamarians, who are not from Earth plane either. We're from, story goes, the Anunnaki. These other beings are fighting against the earth, the beings that sprung from the soil here in Tamara. So the beings that came to the planet knows that everything starts here. And they're in a war fighting a war against the being that are here. So what the beings that when they came to the earth plane, they created wars all over the planet with all other bloodlines, and then orchestrated something so that now their bloodlines can come to America for better opportunities. Because I'm trying not to get too woo-woo, the bloodlines of different extraterrestrials that seeded different beings are fighting each other. So you're going to see a lot of 666 because they're letting you know they're going against carbon, the carbonated beings. Now, for those that's meant to catch it, you'll hear in your spirit what I'm saying. But what I want us to be concerned with is that the war is over. And it doesn't matter what beings you are, if you're human or non-human, the war is over. But what's been going on here, somebody says, please get a woo-woo as needed. Well, all I want us to know here is that as it relates to United States Incorporated, it's been dissolved. The beings of Tamaria will now rise up as the gods that they are. Kings, queens, royalty, gods that they are. And they may have relationships with other beings, other humans, and they may do some type of trade agreements between each other, but they are making it clear that if you cannot have a good relationship with Temeria, this continent, this landmass, America, if you don't have a good relationship or you don't have good motives here, you or your bloodline will have to return to the the lands of your ancestors. I don't want to get too woo-woo. We'll do that another time. But I noticed that they keep talking about 666 because the humans are fighting with the gods from Tamara. That's what I'm trying to say without being too direct. The humans are fighting with the gods from America. The bloodlines from all other places are fighting with the bloodlines that are here on this soil. And this is ancestral. When people wake up and realize that this is a spiritual war, meaning it's an ancestral bloodline war, they're going to be amazed. They're going to understand their place in this war. And I'll leave it at that. Grand Rising, spiritual warfare unseen. You can feel it? Thank you. Yes, the war is over. It's up to us to see past the illusion and the psyop. I agree. So that's it for the woo-woo. But you're going to continue to see 666 because they're speaking to the carbonated God beings on the planet. They're speaking to you. It's a genetic code that they're trying to unlock within the carbonated beings that have the 666. The 9 ether beings are who they're waking up. Thank you. They're letting you know that the bloodline wars was to try to keep you down from creating and manifesting all the things you're supposed to be manifesting on this earth plane for you and your bloodline and for others. If you have a relationship with the humans and they get along with you, you're going to build massive empires. But the ancient 9 ether beings are not, they're more than human. They're supernova, superhuman. That's why you keep getting activated by the sun and they're trying to cover the sun because the sun is activating those genetic codes that's trying to be unlocked in you. Some people have to hide from the sun or they can go to the sun, but they have to put certain screens on them to protect them. And that's good that they're being protected. Those of you that don't have to be protected need to go out in the sun and allow your codes to be activated. To allow the 13 that's in you to be unlocked because the war is spiritual. I know we say that the land does not belong to us. We belong to the land. But the truth is we created this land, the 9 ether beings. We created this land. That's the truth. That's why we're the stewards of it, because we created it. We created the sun. We created the land. I'm talking to 9 ether beings. You know who you are because as I speak, codes are being unlocked within you. The humans, of which there are at least 5 of them, have some of the 9 ether beings' genetic codes, and they have codes from other beings that were seated on this earth plane. And those other beings are trying to fight for what you created on this landmass. The resources, the natural resources like gold, silver, plate, and platinum, the minerals, the sun, the stars, the moon, all that the 9 ether beings created before they manifested in this flesh. So the 13 is a very powerful number. The 6 is a very powerful number as it is unlocking codes in you. This is why they tell you not to say 666, the mark of the beast. Who's the beast? The beast is who the humans are afraid of. The 9 ether beings. The 6 and the 9 is the same. 666 is carbon. We all have carbon. The 9 ether beings have the most carbon. The 9 ether beings sprung from the soil here. They were seated actually in the soil here because they came from another place and created earth. In the beginning, everything was dark, and spoke and created earth, and also manifested as the God beings here in Temeria, America. Other entities are here fighting against the 9 ether beings, trying to keep them suppressed, trying to steal all their resources, and sending their human bloodline here to take the resources over to other lands. But the other lands already have resources. So anybody that's not supposed to be here will return under so-called, policies, legality, statutes, and codes. But they will get the benefits from their bloodline. And wherever they have the birthright to and the blood rights to, that's where they'll receive their resources and their benefits. So if we come back to 3D reality, we're going to talk about, again, how the government here is insolvent. The government here is insolvent because those beings that usurped authority from the 9 ether beings here have to go back to wherever they came from. The contracts are up. They have to go back to where they came from. So this is why when President Trump spoke under his first administration, he said the military has done all they could to secure the skies because there were beings coming in through all different ports, sky, water, land, everywhere they could. But they were expelled. And then now we have the portals that were closed, and they keep trying to use their advanced technology to enter back in. The flights are halted because the airports are being closed. The water ports are being raided by FBI. Coming in, babies, because these beings were bringing in drugs to try to suppress all humanity, but especially the 9 ether beings that sprung from the soil and that were seeded here in Temeria, also known as America. Okay, I'm going to come back to 3D and now talk about the government is insolvent. Come on in, babies. Hi, I like your clothes. Let me see what I wanted to show you. Hey, babies, give me about a few more minutes. The government is insolvent, meaning it doesn't exist anymore. President Trump is working on behalf, thank you, of everybody, the world. And he's not even so-called human. Most of the people in power, or the people that we see are not human. They may come from different bloodlines, different planes outside of the earth plane. But I want you to see what he said in 2025. Remember, I said he came back in 2025 to finish what the Supreme Court of the United States did when the Supreme Court of the United States overturned the Chevron doctrine. We want to give thanks to and credit to Chief Rod Hayes, who caught this and posted it. If you missed the podcast that he and I did, you can look on the Dr. Kia Pruitt show on my YouTube channel and see the video that I did with Chief Rod Hayes just a couple days ago. Notice the Patriots. This is the date, January the 4th, 2025. This is to inform all Patriots that effective immediately, all governments and government corporations are hereby dissolved due to breach of oath. Additionally, all statutory and foreign laws are also dissolved. The only legal framework that remain in effect are constitutional law. That's according to our republic, as outlined in Article 61 of the Magna Carta and established common law. This directive is specifically for corporate bodies and government workers. Any government corporate body, including police or the policy enforcers of the United States Incorporated, judges who are really, truly administrators, and lawyers, which are actually attorneys. This directive is specifically for corporate bodies and government workers, any government corporate body, including police, judges, lawyers, and any individuals operating in these capacities must cease operations immediately. That's it. This is the exact language that Pope Francis put in his letter to Obama 2014. Cease and desist. Those who continue to operate after this notice will be liable for prosecution for fraud and breach of oath. When you look at Motu Proprio, when Pope Francis sent the letter to Obama saying we must cease and desist, he said, if we don't, the Grand Army of the Republic will be formed to force us to step down. And the Grand Army of the Republic will be controlled by or run by or led by General Ham. Same language here. Those who continue to operate after this notice will be liable for prosecution for fraud and breach of oath. It is imperative that all government or workers comply with this directive. Failure to adhere may result in serious consequences, including potential military action. Same thing Pope Francis said at Motu Proprio. You can go to my YouTube channel and look up my letter, and we might end with that. That Pope Francis sent to Obama, saying it's called Motu Proprio, saying we must cease and desist. Let us unite in upholding our constitutional right and ensuring the stability of our freedoms. Somebody put in the comment section, #freedom now. We're doing this to secure our freedoms. Dissolving the corporation and the contracts that these beings had with each other to enslave humanity and to enslave the 9 ether beings that came from Earth, that came from Tamara. The contracts are over, is what I'm saying. You're free. Whether or not you pay taxes at this point is up to you and me, because as the gentleman said in the video I showed you earlier in the beginning, paying taxes is actually voluntary. President Trump, when he came back, got rid of many workers from the IRS. The IRS has been downsized significantly, and he halted the hiring of more agents. There's been some discussion that the commissioner from the IRS was fired. Well, what we also know is that the IRS, the duties of the IRS was put under the Treasury Department, the umbrella of the Treasury Department under Trump's first administration. Now they're doing a systematic dismantling of the IRS, which leads me to this. We give credit again to Chief Rod Hayes and to somebody by the name of Flory Aguilar, who put this up, posted this so that we, the people, can actually see that what we've been reporting on is actually a reality that the Supreme Court hasn't yet unveiled. But here it shows that the Supreme Court just sealed a ruling that abolishes income tax. The money they took from you for 113 years was used to suppress every cure that could have saved your family. Why? See that number 13? Powerful vibrational number that unlocks codes within you. Symbols and numbers are codes. They're the first letters. For 113 years, they stole money from us to suppress cures that could have saved humanity. And others, really, and the 9 ether beings. They didn't want you to ascend to your highest self. They didn't want you to be able to take your seat at the Galactic Federation, because you have a place there. I have a place there. But as long as they can keep us suppressed and from manifesting whatever it is we desired, then we wouldn't be able to sit at the seat, have a seat at the Galactic Federation, because we were resonating on a low vibrational frequency. But if you look over, I don't know if you can see this, so I'll read just this first paragraph. The Supreme Court just sealed a ruling that abolishes income tax, or we already read that. Not reformed, not reduced, abolished. Case number 24-1791, filed under seal. It was decided 7-2. No dissent published, no media briefing, no public docket entry. Just like they didn't tell you that the United States was insolvent. The Treasury Department finally released that information September 2025 because they are doing things systematically, dropping things a little at a time. The only reason anyone knows this exists is because a clerk, 26 years old, 3 months on the job, accidentally, end quote, uploaded the ruling to the public pacer system for 9 minutes, 9 ether beings, before it was pulled. See, I'm telling you, codes. We're unlocking codes right now. The only reason anyone knows it exists is because a clerk, 26-year-old, 3 months on the job, the 369, accidentally uploaded the ruling to the public pacer system for 9 minutes before it was pulled. 9 minutes. 14,000 uploads before the file vanished. The clerk was placed on administrative leave, all orchestrated. The file was scrubbed from every server, but 14,000 people have it. And the blockchain does not forget. The ruling is 94 pages. What's 9 plus 4? 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. The core finding, the 16th Amendment, the amendment that authorized federal income tax in 1913, was never legally ratified. Not a technicality. The court found that 4 of the 36 states, 3 plus 6 is 9, that allegedly ratified the amendment submitted documents with material alterations to the text. I'm sorry. Yes, I said that right. Different punctuation that changed legal meaning, different wording that modified scope. Under Article 5 of the Constitution, the ratification is void. The IRS has been collecting taxes under an amendment that does not legally exist, period, for 113 years. 3 plus 1 plus 1 is 5. Somebody tell me what in the comment section what frequency 5 resonates on. Every dollar, every April 15th, 5 plus 1 is 6. Carbon. Turned upside down, 9 ether beings. Every dollar, every April 15th, every audit, every lien, every garnished wage, every seized home, all of it, based on an amendment that 7 Supreme Court justices just declared was never a law. Then it goes on to tell you where the money went. 4.7 trillion per year, not to roads, not to schools, to a system designed to keep you dependent on pharmaceutical drugs that manage symptoms while the cures were buried. And I'll let you read that. I'm going to put this in the comment section for you. Thank you, Chief Rod Hayes, for posting that for us to see. If you want to bless Chief Rod Hayes, please send him a cash app to $SIKAPE, because he's doing us a blessing, just helping us to find receipts to the things that we've been saying and receipts to things that you've been knowing in your spirit. Thank you, Aram Ducre, DOCERE, Ignis, on Instagram, who said 5 equals change, transformation, and creativity. Thank you. So when you see the number 5, they're unlocking a code in you. Change, transformation, creativity. Now, it's important for us to know that even though there's a such thing as 9 ether beings, that And there's humans, there are 9 ether beings, there are different Palladians, they're all different type of beings that are here on the planet. It's important for us to know that even though we have different bloodlines from different beings outside this earth plane, that as long as we have agreements with each other, we can get along with each other. And as long as we treat each other well with respect and honor and dignity, we'll be okay. But the moment that we try to rally up with our bloodline to colonize another group of beings, is going to cause chaos, because that is not what we agreed to when we incarnated in this flesh. So again, at this time, we've made it with each other and we made agreements with each other. I'm talking about the beings, different beings that were seated here on this earth plane. We've made it with each other. We've entered covenant agreements called marriages with each other, trade agreements. So we need to make sure we operate in integrity to keep those agreements. A lot of us are not aware of those agreements, but your bloodline knows those agreements. What you know about is love, frequencies, peace, those high vibration, authenticity. As long as you resonate on those frequencies, the plane that we're on, this earth plane, will thrive. But the moment we decide to tribe up and colonize to harm another group of beings, that's when people start fighting and wars ensue. So I'm trying not to be too complicated, but there are many, many beings on the planet. Depends on who you talk to. Some people talk about the 5 races of human beings. I'll leave that for another discussion. 5 races of human beings, of which the 9 ether beings are not a part. 5 human beings, the 9 ether beings that came from Tamara. The 5 human beings are doing their best to get along with the 9 ether beings, but there's a bloodline war. There's something ancient that's embedded in people from all over the world that's fighting against the 9 ether beings that sprung from the soil in America. They don't even know why they're doing it. It's their genetics fighting. It's their ancestry fighting, warring. But again, we've come into an era and into a time frame, if time really exists. It doesn't really exist, but an age where planet Earth has to be peaceful, because the warring contracts are over. The dissension, the colonization, all those isms to cause factions, and tribal wars or wars between different bloodlines and different species. Those contracts are over. We're supposed to have at least 1,000 years of peace. So this is why you see a lot of people going back to their homeland, because they have to return back to their homeland, or they don't even understand this yet, because they've been operating on 3 dimensions. In the 3D reality, people are about survival. So they came to America for the survival of their bloodline, not realizing that there's resources connected to their bloodline on their landmass. But they had to do what they had to do in order to survive. But now we're in an age or an era where they will go back to the land of their forefathers to receive the inheritance for their bloodline. Now, those that will decide to stay here, they'll be okay as long as they can get along with the 9 ether beings that now are springing back up as the gods of Temeria. If you're not a god of Temeria, it's going to go right over you. You're going to think this is causing dissension. You might not see it. If you are a god of Temeria, America, You were seeded from here. You have the codes are being unlocked. And even some other people are like, I get it, that aren't from Temeria, from America. They're like, I get what you're saying. The agreements now must be honored between the bloodlines. The war is over. The contracts are over. So now we've entered an age and an era of peace. We've entered an age and an era of love and high vibrational frequencies. So now that we know that the government, which is control of so-called bloodline families, now that that's over, because the conjure wars, as Chief Rod Hayes always talks about, that have enslaved the planets, or enslaved the people, those conjure wars are over. Spells that were put on people to cause wars, to cause hatred, to cause fighting, those spells have been broken. The magic, the spells, that's why restaurants use certain logos. That's why they were using paper money. They had spells on them, conjure magic on them to keep us all under a system of enslavement. But notice the United States Treasury Department issued out a report saying they agree with President Trump's plan to phase out all paper currency. Why? Because the paper currency has spells on it. It was a part of the conjure war. It had magic imprinted on the paper. Certain bloodlines wouldn't even touch fiat. They touch gold. They touch silver. They touch copper. They touch stones. Shout out to Orisha Stone. Subscribe to his channel and ask him to make you jewelry with stones that will help you resonate on high vibrational frequency. Ask him to make you jewelry with stones and metals based on your bloodline, your birthday, or your life path number. Or ask him to make you jewelry based on the stones that resonate with you, or the stones that can heal you. So these so-called wealthy people from other bloodlines that we don't even know about, have stones, have precious metals, but they wouldn't touch fiat dollars because of the conjure wars and the magic that was on the money. So the Supreme Court of the United States issued out a report saying they agree with President Trump's plan to phase out all paper currency. You can look it up. U.S. Treasury Department issue report to phase out. Let's just go Treasury Department. Phase out paper currency. Ending the conjure wars. This is the real reason why we're going to a cashless society. We're ending the wars, the spells. U.S. Treasury approves President Trump's plan to phase out all paper money in favor of crypto and gold coins. Mainstream is calling it crypto, but we call it digital assets or digital coins. I think you saw that. April 1st, 2026. It tells you the days of pulling out a crumpled $20 bill out of your wallet may be numbered. The United States Treasury has officially greenlit. Also look at colors. Colors are codes. Greenlit a sweeping monetary overhaul that will replace all paper currency with a combination of government-issued cryptocurrencies and physical gold coins by 2027. That's the number 11, the one. Okay, 2 ones. 11 is a high vibrational number. By 2027, 2 plus 2 plus 7. Somebody put what the number 11 frequency is. By then, all paper dollars will be phased out. This is ending the conjure wars, the wars of spells and magics between the bloodlines that have been fighting. Oh, energy reading is your gift. Thank you, Chicago. Love is the best thing we can do to win this war. That's right. So somebody wants me to post the video that I did on Life Path number. Absolutely. You said, okay, 11. 11 is appropriation doorway. So 11 is a doorway, a portal. Okay. So out with the old, in with the new. Chicago, since this is your area, can you tell us what you mean by appropriation doorway? So by 2027, which is the number 11, all paper currency will be phased out. But the Supreme Court also made a ruling to allow President Trump to issue out a currency that's gold backed. And this currency will be a transition currency, but it's gold backed and it will come from the Department of Treasury instead of the Federal Reserve Central Banking System. The Federal Reserve Central Banking System is the banking system of the United States Incorporated, but the United States Incorporated is insolvent. We already said that. They can't pay their debts. The government is closed. And in fact, they were forced to liquidate any of their assets, liquidate to dissolve. The Federal Reserve Central Banking System also is insolvent. So no more issuing out fiat from the Federal Reserve Central Banking System. I don't care if they tell you they're going to keep money printing, they won't. The Federal Reserve was put underneath the umbrella of the United States Treasury Department, along with the IRS under Trump's first administration. Of course, they kept trying to, the remnant of them that were nefarious kept trying to print money, kept trying to do whatever, but that printing press has been shut down. So what is this new currency that the Treasury Department allowed Trump to come out with? It's here. Some of you said you've seen it. Chief Rod Hayes also showed it on my live that he and I did. You see, it says federal victory note. Somebody put hashtag freedom now in the comment section. 100 federal victory note. I'm getting messages. Oh, somebody, thank you for sending me a Zelle. I appreciate you for sending me a Zelle. Y'all like, I don't care if y'all did kind of flag her Cash App. We still gonna bless her. Thank you. If you send a Zelle or PayPal, my email address is kiapruitt@gmail, kiapruitt@gmail.com. This is a federal victory note, right? You see it says Trump 2024 right there. Because a lot of this was done before they made the announcement. They just made the announcement that the Supreme Court of the United States agreed with Trump's plan to phase out all paper currency. And they just issued another announcement that said that the United States Treasury Department approved Trump's plan to issue out a currency with his signature right here. But this currency is gold backed, and it will come up out of the Treasury Department, not the Federal Reserve. And this is why the United States Supreme Court in 2024 issued out a ruling after they issued out a ruling in June to overturn the Chevron doctrine, which led to the dismantling of the government because they said the government had too many powers. It was unconstitutional, unlawful. The next month, the Supreme Court of the United States in July ruled that state-sponsored banks can operate independently from and outside of the control of the Federal Reserve central banking system. And the state-sponsored banks can now issue out gold-backed currencies. But this has been something that's been planned for a while, getting rid of the Federal Reserve. That's why Representative Thomas Massey from Kentucky pushed forward a bill called the End the Fed Act in 2018. And he's been doing it systematically over time, leading up to where we are now, where the Supreme Court ruled that state-sponsored banks can operate independently from outside of the Federal Reserve central banking system. And now state-sponsored banks are issuing out gold-backed currencies. They're going to issue out any currencies that we will have, which will be some type of United States Treasury note. And according what it looks like, it might be a Trump note. Most people think President Trump is a mere human, but whoever is operating as the Trump character right now, because, you know, there are many clones and many different masked Avengers or masked people calling themselves Trump. But whatever he is or whomever he is operating at a higher level. And it looks like confusion to some, and that's because they don't understand or haven't read The Art of War. I would encourage those that are interested in war to read Sun Tzu's work, The Art of War, or any war manuals, and you'll see that sometimes you have to pretend to be chaotic in order to cause confusion with the people that you're dealing with. Now, the masses are watching a movie, so they don't know what they're caught up in. But when you resonate on a high frequency, and you're being activated by the sun, and you're being activated by eating healthy foods, or if you're a faster, your highest self is being activated because you're not putting poison in your body, you can see beyond the veil. That it's a spiritual war, what Chief Rod Hayes calls a conjure war. Magic, advanced technology being used to suppress the people, especially the 9 ether beings that sprung from the soil here in Temeria, also known as America. But the conjure wars are between many, many various bloodlines. We just caught up in the middle of it. The best thing we can do is what somebody said in the comments section: vibrate on the highest frequency, love, as well as authenticity. Don't forget manipulation and misinformation. Absolutely, because manipulation and misinformation, that's part of the conjure war. To use religion, to cast spells on people, to manipulate us using entertainers, music, all that. I agree with you. Warren said they lied our whole lives, telling us that we need to pray and we need Zeus or Jesus, when the only thing we need is money. When will we get anything we really need? Fake garbage religion. So the thing is, we only need money in this 3D reality, but they're phasing out paper currency because eventually you're going to be able to manifest things, all you need, without money, without currencies. You're going to have gold and silver and stones because those are sentient things within themselves. The gold, the silver, the copper, the palladium, the platinum, all of these things and all of these stones, they're telling us we're going to be using them for money. That's until we transition into not needing money at all, because we'll be manifesting things. We'll still have all of these precious metals and rare earth minerals around us, and we'll have stones around us, but it will help us to vibrate on high frequencies, and we'll be using them to make sure the water stays pure, to to heal each other, to stay whole, to stay complete, to build mansions and dynasties, to live around and have all around us, because the stones, the rare earth minerals, the precious metals actually were here to help us to continue to vibrate to our highest selves and to enjoy, not to use the barter with one another. But we're going to be phasing out paper dollars, including the Trump. We're just using the Trump dollars right now because that's going to be something to phase out all paper currencies. And then it's also a Trump card that's being used against the deep state. So that's a part of the war that's going on that we don't understand, is going beyond most humans and most people's heads. It's a Trump card. It's, I'm Trump. I'm phasing out the conjured war using my currency with my signature issued out by the United States Treasury Department, just putting my seal on this whole war. But that's even going to phase out as we will go into using what they're calling cryptocurrency, which is just using the system, a digital system, where you'll be able to barter back and forth and to purchase things digitally. All of this is leading us up to being able to manifest and work telepathically without using some type of tool to assist us, like other beings do outside this earth plane. But again, we'll be using a digital platform as well as gold coins, is what the article said, because these precious metals, stones, rare earth minerals, all that is something that will be here to help and aid us in our daily lives. But it won't be used as money. We only need money right now in this reality. And it's a good thing for now because it's been kept from us. But we were all supposed to enjoy it. It's not just as wealth, like money wealth, but as wealth to keep us whole, to keep us vibrating on high frequencies. So if anybody does get sick from these energies that may come from elsewhere, you can use a stone or you can use a metal to cure them. Thank you, Chief. Chief Max in the house. I love you, Chief Mac. Saying you want to be rich in spirit. Freedom, hashtag freedom now. Absolutely. Trump is the Trump card. I agree. You're down to zero? Okay, family, our sister Melissa says she's down to zero. So I need for you to send energy to her. Send high vibrational energy to her. Direct your energy to her, to Sister Melissa, so she can have all of her needs met. Direct your energy to her. Only the people that know this is going to work. Not think, not believe, not hope. Those that know you have the power to direct whatever she needs to her. So it is. So it shall be, Sister Melissa. We need for you to come back on the next live and let us know how chains were broken and whatever was holding you back from getting what you need is no longer an issue. I had a vision years ago where this being came to me and said that, what did she say? Barriers are illusions. The moment you realize that barriers do not exist is the moment you will be set free. Barriers are illusions. So they'll show you a zero on your bank account or a negative in order to mess with your vibrational frequencies, but you have to see beyond that. And you have to know that you can manifest and will manifest all your needs. And this is why I'm asking the Soul Tribe to direct your positive energy to Sister Melissa, because she says she's down to zero. The good thing about zero is that it's the beginning point. Zero is the first number. I was taught that in school. The first number. So now that you're at 0, now you can go up. Send your and direct your energy to Sister Melissa that her wealth will be restored, that her needs will be met, and that she'll have access to her wealth, as we all will have access to our wealth. Dismantling the system takes time, but it's just like playing spades, Chicago. Absolutely. And chess. Because it's not about how many pieces you can get, but what's the end goal? Checkmating your opponent. Trump. Playing that trump card. That's right, spades. To checkmate your opponent. I see what you're saying, Mrs. Sister Melissa. No, you will move forward. And the family or anybody that works for the government that's trying to stop you no longer have power. Now you've entered into a realm. You're surrounded by beings that love you and support you. Now that you're here with this energy, everything's going to be reversed that's been against you. And all your wealth is going to be returned to you, and everything's now working in your favor. And so it is. You sent me a picture of the Trump dollar. Thank you, Jeffrey. Thank you. I think you sent it to did you send it to my email? I recall that wasn't to my messenger. Thank you so much. You got to start being thankful about everything and see the good in every situation. That's true. And Chief Max says, when you were reduced to 0% is when the RV will happen. So you had to go down to 0 to go to the 1 and the 2 and the 3 and higher. A lot of people are home without work right now. A lot of government workers and other have been laid off because the government is shut down. Who's in control now? You, me. And that's why up to now we've been saying, get your house in order, talk to your family members, restore your family members, operate in love. Those who can get silver and gold, but those who don't have it in your budget, it's okay, because the earth is abundant and we all have wealth, and we're about to experience accessing our trust. I hear you, Warren. Warren says we've been poor our whole lives. We have a lot of people have just been struggling. We've been poor our whole lives and nothing has changed. The drug dealers, police, and you said trash have all the money. They had all the currency, but they don't anymore. So Brother Donald said from 0, you can only go up. You'll have it because you believe it will be. Yes, and because you know it. So it is. So it is. We're free. We're free now, family. Paying taxes is voluntary. Complying with the system is voluntary. Even if they say that this virus is going to spread, if they give a mandate, it's voluntary. A mandate is not a law. Please look at our show that we did yesterday with Farmer Dre, who told us how to prepare in case of an emergency. It's important now to take your colloidal silver, your colloidal gold, or your herbs, or to store up seeds or certain things. That was a great live that he did on how to prepare for an emergency, even have emergency kits. And even if you don't have all those things, your people in your family member, your tribe should have it. They destroyed the family and the tribe so they can isolate you so that they can attack you more easily. Now we have to restore our families and our tribes. Thank you, Croc said love is a human emotion. So what does love have to do with the spiritual realm? Love is not just a human emotion. Love or having compassion for people in your tribe and for beings elsewhere is a 0 point. Because if we can love and agree to respect one another, or vibrate on that frequency of mutual respect, then there won't be any war. I hear what you're saying it's a human emotion. The thing about you and me, many people on this earth plane, is that they're in this flesh. So if you're in this flesh, you ought to have mutual respect for each other because we're on the earth plane. If you don't want us to have love, what would you suggest, dear? Since it's a human emotion, what would you suggest? Because if you don't love or have some type of adoration or mutual respect for other people, you will harm them. I hear what you're saying. I'm asking you, Crocs, what's the alternative in your opinion? Ty Speak says, listen, sis, you are going through your awakening. Just slow down and breathe. I went through the same thing. You're seeing people you love and care for turn on you. Oh, you're speaking to Sister Melissa. Thank you. Oh, you all are encouraging her. Thank you. Thank you. Stand in your confidence and know the people that try to harm you cannot touch you as you call your power back. Love is vibration and energy. Thank you, Chicago. My goodness, Sharissa is down. You're down to 0 as well. We're only up from here. I noticed that they are doing things like people trying to bringing people down financially, going after people's assets, trying to prevent you from getting money in your accounts. But the conjure war is over. I want you to see past that. I know we have physical needs, but we have to see past that, and we have to know that the war is over and that we're free. And let's walk in our knowing. Let's stand in our knowing. I agree with that. Everyone on this live, everyone is abundant in everything that we deserve. Thank you, Sister Crystal. So you said love, thank you, is translated in the spirit to the spiritual realm as well, not just this realm. Thank you, Chicago. Thank you for you all speaking to Sister Melissa and encouraging her. Teachers are quitting their jobs, Chief Max says, because they're bankrupt and dealing with the students. Teachers are quitting their jobs and schools are shutting down because the Federal Department of Education no longer has money. It's been shut down because it's a part of the government. Anything that's attached to the federal government will have to be significantly downsized. And though any of those departments that remain will have to be returned over to the states because the states are their own countries. Remember, state-sponsored banks can now operate independently from the Federal Reserve and issue out their own gold-backed currencies. And remember, when Roe versus Wade was overturned, they said the federal government can no longer determine what happens to a woman's womb or the child from her womb. All these decisions will go to the states. States now have control. These departments of the federal government are being shut down and or downsized. President Trump froze all the money from the federal Department of Education. And then when he released it and unfroze it, he gave that money to the states because the Department of Education is being shut down. Just like the IRS, just like the FBI, as soon as they finish their raids and finish doing their jobs, they're going to have to stand down. Thank you, Chief Mack, for reporting that teachers are quitting. In addition to what you're saying, I'm going to show everybody this article, if I can. Did I get the right one? Schools fear disruptions. Nope, that's not it. Hold on. Schools fears disruptions, family. Why are they fearing disruption? Public education was something that was created because it's part of the conjure war, part of the spells, part of the magic that's been cast upon the people. Schools fear disruptions as White House begins dismantling the Department of Education. No more public schools in our near reality. In fact, many of the public schools won't exist in August. I'll put that in the comment section. The Department of Education is being dismantled. The IRS has been, all 445 agencies. Go to my community section or the post on the Dr. Kia Pruitt show. You'll see that I put up a link to the list of all 445 governmental agencies. They're being dismantled. We're going to have to either send our children to private schools or schools that are funded by the state, or we're going to get scholarship money to homeschool our own children. And many states right now have published the money, the grants that you can access to educate your own students or to create your own schools. The Trump administration says that it plans to dismantle the Department of Education, offers a fix for the nation's lagging academics, a solution that could free schools from the strictures of federal influence. What's federal influence? Manipulation, mind control, conjure, spells, magic. Yet to some schools and state officials, the plan appears to add more bureaucracy with no clear benefit for students who struggle with math or reading. Of course, listen, if your students are struggling with math or reading, you hire somebody through the wealth you're going to have or through the funds that the states are now offering to bring them up to speed, because federal funding that's been funding these public schools seem to be dumbing down our students. So you can read more about this in the article. Of course, mainstream media that was in control before they've been arrested. I already did a report on how journalists are being arrested. They'll spin the media to cause fear with us and to make us think that nothing's happening for our benefit. But we're free. We are free, family. I don't know much about charter schools. Somebody look into that for me, or I can look into it to see how they're funded, and those are a good idea. But as a parent or a grandparent, I would say just do some research on the charter schools, see where they're getting their funding from. And if you decide to send them there, make sure you stay active there, volunteering, going to lunch with your children, all of that. So you can keep your eye on what's going on. It's always a good idea to monitor, no matter what school, even a private school. You need to be in that school monitoring what's happening with your children or grandchildren. So the government has been dismantled. It has been dissolved. I showed you that the Treasury Department said that they're insolvent, that the United States is insolvent. That's because it is. In case you didn't know it, a lot of mayors are stepping down because these mayors were part of the system that were keeping cities and different areas underneath the spell of the corporation, the courts. You could I'm just pulling up a link of what talks about different mayors. Aaron Stewart accused of fraud as a mayor. Suspends campaign for governor, was trying to do a campaign for governor, but she stepped down because she's accused of fraud as a mayor. Andy Berman just got humiliated. Charlotte Mayor V. Lyles announces surprise resignation. Who else? Eileen Wayne steps down amid serious allegations. A lot of these have Wayne, Lee, Chinese names. I wonder if they were a part of the CCP, Chinese Communist Party. Councilman Malcolm Graham speaks on Mayor Lee is also stepping down. Here's somebody, Wes Streeling resigns as health secretary. Remember when we were talking about the notable resignation list? Go to resignation.info. I've tried to put that in I can put it in the comment section, but Facebook will flag it. Resignation.info. I'll pull it up. We were talking about the forced resignation. People didn't know if they could believe it or not. Well, those were coming out since 2017, 2018. We've been reporting on it then. We even reported on military tribunals in 2018. You used to be able to follow them on c-vine.net, C-Vine. It looked like we didn't know what we were talking about. Now people are like, I want to see arrests. Now they're reporting on it. Longtime Democrat mayor resigns in disgrace. So mayors are stepping down. I just want you to see. The system is breaking. The conjure war, the spells that's been cast on us is over. Oh my gosh. I didn't even see this one. So I just typed in senator office raided because there was a senator's office who was raided by the FBI. You can look at a video that I did on YouTube on FBI raids. And I just went in on all these different raids that's been happening. Let me see if I could find that right quick. Oh, it's in my live. If you go to my YouTube channel and go to the lives, I'm going to make this one quick. Thank you for sending me a gift, a Zelle, and PayPal. Go here to the live of Dr. Kiapruitt show. Go to live and you'll see here FBI raids. I say they only have till July 4th to clean this mess up. You want to see that video right there because I talk about all the offices, that were raided. I talk about how FBI raided home health care agencies. $218 million in Medicare fraud was discovered in Texas with 18 nurses being indicted. Thank you, baby. Thank you. I discussed how federal agents raids VAs. No, wait a minute. What is that? I don't know what that one. Oh, a senator's office. I don't know why. Oh, a Virginia senator's office. There we go. FBI they're raiding judges' chambers. In one particular report, a judge and 50 cops that were protecting a drug ring. They were dealt with. A judge and all 50 cops arrested. I showed how a Michigan port was raided. The director's office was raided with $1.9 million of cash was confiscated and 3.8 tons of drugs were seized. I talk about FBI and DI raids of a bank director's office where $1.2 billion of veteran savings were that these people fraudulently stole $1.2 billion from our veterans. And 2,500 fake files were discovered. And then I went in and talked about how ICE has been arresting certain immigrants at the ports, airports, all ports of entry, if they not only if they overstayed their visa, but most of the ones that committed crimes. That's what people aren't telling you. And I also discuss how judges are getting fired. Judges were logging in, and I showed you a testimony. Thank you, baby. May I have some water? I showed you a testimony of a judge in California who said the way he discovered he was fired was he showed up to work and logged on, and he just got an email saying you're fired. Sound like something President Trump would do. Remember The Apprentice, where he just said you're fired? Well, this California judge said he called up his colleagues and the same thing happened to them. They were all fired. So we manifested this shutdown because we've been reporting on it. We've been saying the government ceased to exist and we are now in control. We've been saying our republic's been restored, even when people thought we were nuts. Can you open that for me, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, baby. So you want to look at the video I did on government raids. And you want to look at resignation.info. I'm going to show you some more, but in case you haven't seen resignation.info, this is actually, so somebody said it's taken time. It has taken time. People wonder when it's happening, what's happened, but you're talking about hundreds, if not thousands of years of these beings that are not human, and they're human hybrids with whom they made it, because they made it with humans, have been controlling the system. But you have a notable resignation list, and this need to be updated because I think the last time it was updated was in sometime in 2023. On December 22, 2017, there was a track of all the notable resignations. 14,309 are in this list, almost 14,000 people within 10,000 organizations in 171 countries. So you'll see on the list CEOs of banks, the World Bank here, presidents and vice presidents of countries, CEOs of like YouTube, commissioner of the police in Canada, prime ministers, CEO of Netflix, Vietnamese president was on here. Lots and lots of organizations. Go to resignation.info. I'll try to put it in the comments section. What's happening? Well, wait a minute. Let me, I'm gonna pause you all. Hold on, I'm gonna put you on pause. I'm sorry, y'all couldn't hear me. So I tried to post resignation.info and I got a failure message from Facebook. Here's what Facebook said. Failed to post to Facebook. Resignation.info. Your content couldn't be shared because this link goes against community standards. Why does resignation.info go against community standards? Maybe they don't want you to know who's been forced to resign. Thank you, Sister Melissa, forgive me. You're wonderful, Big Mama Kia. You're awesome. Thank you so much for your kindness, and so are you. I am a reflection of each of you. So when you see me, you are seeing you resonating on a high vibrational frequency. I'm so glad we're here to help and uplift and inspire each other, encourage each other. Something big has happened in Cleveland. So many crooks in politics. You know, I was born and raised in Cleveland. So I was led to go look at who was controlling downtown Cleveland. Did you know, Sister Belinda, that the Ukrainian mafia owned downtown Cleveland? You can even look it up, Google it. Ukrainian mafia. We're ready for the cops and the corps and all these policy enforcers, corporations to end. And they are slowly moving away. So resignation.info showed many of the resignations. I told you that there are a lot of people being arrested as these FBI raids continue. Mayors are stepping down. Saw a senator step down. And there was something else I wanted to show you, but it escapes me. Let me see if I can find it, if I pulled it up. So here's one. Laughter erupts on The View over Mayor hopeful Spencer Pratt's bold claim. I don't know if we need to see that one. I'm not concerned about The View. Next. So I think that might be it. I wanted to show you that mayors, who else? Stepping down. Here's something interesting. I briefly touched on this. Because people say, I don't see it, I don't see it. It's probably because they don't want to cause panic. But now people are announcing I'm stepping down. Aaron Stewart accused of fraud as mayor suspends campaign for governor. She suspended her campaign for governor Thursday after an investigative report concluded that her personal use of a city credit card as mayor of New Britain was a repeated and deliberate circumvention of the city's purchase order system to benefit herself, members of her family, and her political campaigns. Stewart immediately endorsed her chief rival for the Republican nomination. So it's both sides, the stepping down, Republican and Democrats. We're not going to get caught up on whose side is more evil. They both committed fraud. We know about the liberal agenda of the Democrats and how they were taken over. I mean, they just went in over the last, 4 to 8 years. However, mayors, senators, governors, most people, politicians, weren't complicit on the fraud. In on the fraud. However, people are resigning now. Let me show you something right quick. I Googled something and I just want to encourage you that things are happening like openly. So I just typed in, what did I type in? Senator office raided. Here's somebody trying to deny that the CIA, it says, Tulsi Gabbard's office denies Florida lawmakers' claim of CIA raids, seizing JFK and MK Ultra documents. Questions linger on the wake of FBI raids of Senator Lucas's office. The Democrats blast Trump over Virginia FBI raids. Democratic Virginia State Senator's office raided by the FBI. Just type in FBI raids or go to my video that talks about FBI raids. It's all happening. They're cleaning up. So when they return everything back over to the people, everything have to be at 0 point. That's why when we say we're at 0, that means that's the button. From 0 now to 1. What year? We're in the year of 10, 2026. 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 6 is 10. You have the 1 and a 0. You zero everything out so we can go to the vibration of oneness, wholeness, completeness. And then next year will be the year of 11. Somebody put in the comment section what the vibrational frequency of 11 is. We know it's a portal. We know it's a doorway. We're going to step into a new reality. That's the doorway into which we're going. So mayors are stepping down, senators stepping down, people with Esquire behind their names, many senators, judges, attorneys, they will stand down. In my raid video, I show you that judges and attorneys are actually being arrested, not just standing down. According to our Constitution for our republic, you may not have a title of nobility and serve we the people. Remember what that video said that I showed you at the beginning of this podcast. A lot of attorneys, they didn't care about us. And, you know, after you become an attorney, you become a judge or an administrator. They use your energy, hauling you in and out of court, part of the conjure wars where they have spells and money magic in there and all type of seances, which is why the judges wear black. Not only are they doing a funeral, over a funeral because they consider you dead and lost at sea, but they're also working magic and conjure laws. But just in case people didn't get to see this, let me show you this again. This is why attorneys must stand down, so-called judges, and a corporation called the United States of America Incorporated.
What is the factual history of the United States and how do we get here?
Diane, are you going to take that or am I?
Oh, no, you go for it.
Okay, the factual history of the United States. Everything was going well until the Civil War. And everybody thinks that the Civil War was a conflict between the North and the South over slavery and so on like that. Well, it wasn't. It was about corporations. It was a corporate war, just like all of the other wars that the United States has been involved with. It all started there. And after the Civil War, they never went back and formed the Federation of States. The British territorial came over and they started putting in their own government. They never told the people that it had to be reconstructed after the war.
The British government, or territorial, whatever that he said. Let me see what he said. Brought over their government. Hold on.
Told the people that it had to be reconstructed after the war. Federation of States. The British territorial came over and they started putting in their own government. They never.
Why did the British territorial do that? It's because those are the beings that came to colonize the beings here in America. Part of the conjure war and part of the making us prisoners of war to their crown, because those are not human beings. Not just prisoners of war to their crown, but prisoners of war to their bloodline.
Never told the people that it had to be reconstructed after the war. So since then, Britain has been putting in their agents and their governments or whatever. The government that we have now does not belong to us. They're a foreign government. They don't even belong in our soil. Attorneys, and they're the worst. They work for the Queen.
Remember, he said they don't even belong on our soil. This is why in the letter that I read to you, or the post that I read to you, that President Trump said when he said that the government doesn't exist anymore, he said all statutory and foreign laws are also dissolved. He said this is to inform all patriots, effective immediately. All governments and government corporations are hereby dissolved due to breach of oath. I'll get back to this. Hold on. I'll take it back just a little bit.
That they're a foreign government. They don't even belong in our soil. Attorneys, and they're the worst. They work for the Queen. Anytime you get an attorney, they're there to screw you out of as much money as they possibly can. And they always tell you, hey, we're here for you, but it's total opposite. They're here to gouge you for as much money as they can possibly get. They're trying to keep everybody in America broke. That's why the so-called government, we call them the de facto, is totally foreign. In fact, most people don't know this, but the elections on November 3rd of this past year, whether Donald Trump or Joe Biden became president, on November 5th, the municipal corporation that they were being elected president for was liquidated. So they would have been president for 2 days. So it's all a scam, what's going on now.
Now, what do you mean? What do you mean that it was liquidated?
The United States was liquidated. It's a corporation. And we also have the United States of America, territorial. They are in bankruptcy. So they're both corporations. The United States, Inc. That's what the president of the United States runs for. He's running for president of a corporation. That'd be like you and I going out and say voting for Burger King to who's the top dog at Burger King or McDonald's. We're voting for people of a corporation to run that. So it's all a scam. They have no money, none. If the 160 trillion in debt is owed to we, the people, we are the owners of the land and soil. Everything that is here, we have paid for through our supposedly taxes. Okay, you don't have to pay taxes. Taxes are voluntary. It's all a scam. It's like this COVID thing. It's a total scam. It's all to hide the fraud of the elections.
What is the fact?
So in case you want to see that video, it is on my YouTube channel under videos. And I'm also going to put that link in the chat for you all. Thank you so much for 854 people being in the chat. Please hit the like button. And if you're up to it, put hashtag freedom now. We are free now, right now. In this present moment, you're free. You're liberated. In this present moment, we're sovereign. In this present moment, we're wealthy. The screen just reflects what whoever is controlling the screen wants it to reflect. But you are wealthy, you are healthy, and you are wise. Every time I say that, I think about that character on some movie that say, you was kind and you was good and you was important. Why they try to have us sounding like we're crazy? You was kind, you was good, and you was important. You are healthy, wealthy, and wise. Oh, I got a crook in my. Oh, hold on 1 minute. Woo-wee. Okay. I was sitting on my foot. Hold on, family. You know how sometimes you cross leg, you do the Indian stand. Hold on, let me get off this camera for a minute. Okay, I have to get back. I had to stretch my limbs. I need to get back to doing my yoga. Let me see what you are saying. I am free. That's right. We are free, family. We are free. So you say, get right. We are well. I am well. I am healed. Man, I had to get myself free. You're right. So he's so beautiful this morning, Dr. Kia. Thank you. Free. I'm free. Freedom now. Right. Okay. Thank you, Crocs or Croy. Don't know how you're supposed to say that. Says it's not love, it's a knowing. So we have to have knowing. Okay. Thank you. Hannah says, Dr. Kia, Grand Rising. Thank you, Grand Rising. You are the strength and beauty of freedom. I saw Malcolm X in 1964. He said, you stand on truth and take back what's yours, free at last, until our love, power, and uplift all of humanity. Beautiful. Freedom now. Hashtag freedom now, family. I am free. That's right. Freedom now. I hear you, Dark Voodoo Goddess. I just get right past that, right? You're so beautiful this morning. Thank you, Sister Melissa. Woo-wee. Dr. Kia, I saw a post on Facebook yesterday saying that Congress or members of Congress were arrested as well. Have you heard anything of that sort? Actually, we heard a couple years ago that Congress was arrested. That's why we're not seeing them. We're seeing, maybe green screens or clones, but I have heard it. I have not seen an official report about that. But remember the Brunson brothers case? They brought a case against Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi, Kamala Harris, and 385 members of Congress, saying that they committed fraud. And if it was discovered that this was true, then Biden, Pelosi, Kamala Harris and 385 members of Congress had to stand down because that meant they committed treason, and their assets had to be frozen. They had to be arrested and go through military tribunals. That was what, 2022? Well, the following year, we heard that the Supreme Court actually heard and ruled in favor of the Brunson brothers, but that wasn't made public notice. I actually covered that and did I interviewed Lloyd Brunson twice, one of the Brunson brothers. They were trumpet players. See the name Trump? And on one of my lives, I was interviewing Lloyd. I was like, Lloyd, I looked up the etymology of your name, and I know why you chose to bring a lawsuit against Joe Biden. And he smiled and he's told me, look up the etymology of something else. And I looked it up. I was like, oh my God. And I just kind of winked. He knew that I knew that he knew that I knew that this was all planned, that the trumpet players were the ones that brought allegations against the Biden administration. So it was discovered that allegedly that that Biden administration and 385 members of Congress did commit fraud. And so even though this wasn't publicized, what we know is, what is that one Chief Justice name, the brother, the one classified as Black, the brown indigenous brother? What is his name? Clarence Thomas. Clarence Thomas, according to reports, is a constitutional judge, or he's a benevolent white hat, which is why when he first came in, they tried to do a campaign against him, accusing him of fraud, because they knew that he was going to be used to help take down the deep state. So during the Brunson brother case and some other cases that were brought up against the Biden administration, many judges on the Supreme Court recused themselves. Look it up. Mostly liberal judges recused themselves from the case. But Clarence Thomas stayed on the case. And in fact, there was an article that came out, and I reported on it then, that said Clarence Thomas, that it was voted that Clarence Thomas could independently by himself rule on that case. I don't know if y'all remember, I reported that in 2022 or 2023. Independently. I'm going to have to go through my old videos on my old channel, just Dr. Kia Pruitt. This is Dr. Kia Pruitt official, and most of you are on, but I have, my old channel was revamped, Dr. Kia Pruitt. Some of you are on that channel now listening as well. It was determined that he can independently rule on that case. And then we got information that said that the Brunson brothers won their case. Why wasn't that published publicly? I don't know, but I did report on that. That was my first viral video. I've been viral on Facebook and other platforms, but that was my first viral video in 2022. Eventually led to my channel getting shut down. But I'm gonna see if I could find that video where I reported that it was ruled in favor of the Brunson brothers. So if in fact that's true, that it was ruled in favor of the Brunson brothers, then yes, that would mean that the congressmen and women were arrested in 2020, between 2022 and 2023. Let's see if I can find that. Because it was on my old channel. Then the video got taken down, the channel got taken down. But then when my new channel, when my old channel I was able to bring back my old channel, I found the video. Here it is. Is that it? Yes. And I did upload it back on this channel. I put, oh my God, I found my viral video. Hold on, let me show. I'll show it to you. I hope I tell you the year of this video, where I said that Congress ruled in favor of the Brunson brothers, which means that the Congress would be arrested. This is the one. This is Dr. Kia Pruitt. Okay. Greetings, family. This is Dr. Kia Pruitt. This is Wednesday, June 29th, 2022. Oh, 29. And the time is 10 o'clock a.m. I have breaking news. Now, I cannot validate this, so I'll use it I'll put this information in a question form. Did the United States Supreme Court overrule Biden's election? We told you all for years, we've been saying it since 2017, this was going to happen. And it seemed laughable at the time. Even when he supposedly usurped authority from number 45, we still made the announcement and people laughed at us. Well, I got information from a military source today that this just happened earlier. I don't know if it's true or not, but I want you to dig through your sources. I've been digging, and what I came up with was another source who contacted me and said that news has broken in Australia. So what I'm understanding is other countries are already responding to Biden allegedly being overturned and his whole crew being taken out and shipped out to Guantanamo Bay and probably executed. But that's not all of it. Then we heard news from, what's her name, Kayleigh McNamara, who actually is supposedly JFK Jr.'s daughter. And when you look at the pictures with her and JFK and the mother, she does look just like her mother. So we don't know, but this is the former press secretary, I believe, for number 45. Listen to what she said yesterday. She said, soon, at any moment, a turn of events will trigger the unbelievable. Our entire government will be invalidated. Biden, Harris, members of Congress, and the Supreme Court will be removed. Didn't we tell you all this? We've been saying they would be removed. Why? Because titles of nobility may not serve in Congress, and most or many of the congressmen actually are lawyers. Also, they've been participating in nefarious activities against our children. So that might be why we saw body bags leaving the White House. Who knows? But this is exciting breaking news. I want you to dig, see if you can find some sources to back it up. And even if you can't, try to prove me wrong. Some of you have tried to prove me wrong for the past 5 years, and you kind of come up short. So I'm just saying, listen to what else she said. She said, laugh if you want. There will be a temporary coup d'etat with new elections, a new beginning. Now, if you remember, I just reported on my last two videos that something breaking is going to happen on July 4th. July 4th is Independence Day. We also just had June 10th, which celebrated the independence and the freedom of those people classified as Black or African Americans here in the United States who were enslaved. So Juneteenth is a big celebration for African Americans. My personal opinion is that the reason why they celebrate it so close to Independence Day is because this is independent season. Now, that's not the only news that I have before I get out of here. I'm on a ride somewhere. But the other news is what I reported yesterday is that Zimbabwe just made a huge announcement that they are minting gold coins.
Okay, then I go on to talk about how Zimbabwe is Wakanda. That was 2022 when Zimbabwe said they were minting gold coins. So this is when June 29, 2022 is when I reported that Joe Biden, it was that the Supreme Court ruled in favor of the Brunson brothers, that Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Nancy Pelosi, and 385 members of Congress did participate in fraudulent elections, as well as some other nefarious activities. Therefore, they were arrested, their assets were confiscated, and they were sent to Guantanamo Bay. So, of course, we saw a fake Biden. Somebody said in the comments section that Jim Carrey was one of the characters playing Joe Biden. So it had to look like Biden was in control, as the Trump administration was still really in control, and the Grand Army of the Republic, which Pope Francis told us would take down the deep state, as they did their job. But, they just did. It was an orchestrated, planned collapse of the deep state that happened. Welcome, new member, Sister Hannah. We're so glad to have you as a new member of the Soul Tribe, the private group where we talk about investments, family, wealth, and legacy. Okay, welcome. We appreciate you being a part of our Soul Tribe. Sister Belinda, you remember me doing that? You've been with us that long? Bless you, Creator, bless you. What'd you say, Sister Melissa? There you go. Jim Carrey. Yeah, was Fire Marshal Bill, right? You remember Fire Marshal Bill? That's the character he was playing the Joe Biden character. You on your way to Birmingham tomorrow? Oh, awesome. Awesome. So I agree. Jamie Frank said they had military tribunals. They had dark covered buses on the ground. They were taken out back then. The White House. You said the White House was involved. Did they have military tribunals actually at the White House? Jim Carrey played Joe Biden. I know it's agonizing because the masses don't believe us. You know what? They're starting to slowly wake up. But if we have this another shutdown or some type of 3 days of darkness where it be, basically 3 days where they giving out intel, people gonna wake up even more. I'm glad you tuned in today too. You said we have 3,143 countries in the union to deal with. They could have been dealt with behind the scenes, but you know what? They can flip a switch in a day. And those 3,143 people or countries we think aren't on board. I thought there were 209 countries. Oh, counties. Oh, we got counties to deal with. Maybe they're being dealt with and we just don't know it yet. Like I said, they could do something in a day and all this will be revealed or dealt with. You're in Alabama. The corporation is defunct. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep, it could be dealt with in one day, family. Our mental health should be the language we use, not words from our highest self. Yes, because sometimes the words you use is casting spells and we don't even realize it. But like you said, if we can speak to each other telepathically, we can manifest things or bring things into our reality telepathically. Not only can we do. That's why we must make sure our subconscious mind is filled with positivity and high vibrational thoughts. Because your subconscious mind, according to psychologists, many of you have studied psychology, your subconscious mind guides your behavior. So 90% or more of your behaviors is motivated by your subconscious mind. So you even have to be careful and mindful of what you eat because parasites can also control your behavior. So it's what's in your mind, the music, the vibrational frequencies, the thoughts, the programming, the propaganda, the education that's in your subconscious will control your thoughts, therefore controlling your reality. So if you tell yourself you're a bad person or you're a slave or you'll never amount to anything, or you keep going through things that make you think that you'll never accumulate anything, those subconscious thoughts would then bring that into your reality and you'll start struggling. But you have to override that with knowing that you are God. The scripture says, "Know you not ye are gods." In Psalms, it says you are gods. In John, it says you are gods. In other words, you are the creator of your reality. You don't even have to use the word gods, you are creator. So when you know you are a creator and you eat high vibrational foods or you fast to purge yourself from those impurities, you listen to high vibrational music. They say that's why Michael Jackson has come back to restore the vibration on the high vibrational music on the planet. But those high vibrations override any type of thing, negative thing that's in your subconscious. All your training, your programming, your education, the music you listen to, the food you eat, the people you hear, the vibrational frequencies you're around. They motivate and inform your subconscious mind. Some people even do parasite cleanses. You know why they do parasite cleanses? They do parasite cleanses because certain foods that you eat that have the parasites then take over your body. They don't just override your thoughts and take over your subconscious mind. They take over your conscious mind. They take over your body. So you have to purge yourself from these parasites and make sure, I'm looking for something. make sure you don't eat foods that have them. So if you're eating meat, you want to make sure you get rid of the parasites that's in the meat. Or you may decide not to eat meat at all. But also your vegetables could have them. You want to make sure that we need to make sure they're thoroughly washed or cleansed. Get rid of all the parasites that are in our body. I'm looking for that holistic website that I used to have, because you can get a parasite cleanse from Holistic. Oh, I think I should have it on my website. Hold on. Thank you, Sister Barbara, for sending me something from PayPal. Thank you so much. Because I was having some issues with Cash App, but they just emailed me to tell me they're fixing that. I don't see my holistic website. Let me see if this is it. I'll have to get back to you all on how to get this parasite cleanse that I use. Let's see what you're saying. Yes, we do, because I'm here in Louisville, Kentucky. That's where I raised my children. I stayed there for 20 years. Jefferson County. And things dealing with the court systems down here is still thinking they have authority over us. I know, Louisville, Kentucky, it was run by liberals. So there's a lot that was going on in Kentucky. Remember the marches and the protests that occurred in Louisville during the Breonna Taylor unalivement and George Floyd, and then it led to, it spilled over to protests and riots during the shutdown. It was horrible. Did you know that in downtown Louisville, only 60% is operating, 40% is still closed from all those protests and rioting in Louisville? And you would have thought that they would not have allowed that to happen. The Attorney General, who is a brother, a man classified as Black, tried to stop it. And do you know, because it's liberal run city, they called him all kind of names and said that he was only doing that to support his white wife, because he's married to a Caucasian woman. But he was like, that doesn't have anything to do with justice and how we should be conducting ourselves. You don't just get to tear up a place because you have a grievance. There are proper channels. And he said, I'm going to investigate. I can't just go around arresting people without investigating things. So then the protesters went on his lawn and tried to tear up his lawn. During 2020, the Attorney General, Louisville, Kentucky was a mess. Then this guy called, what was his name? Grandmaster Jay, said he was the militia leader of the NFAC, the No Effing Around Coalition. Started rallying up troops and telling people to carry guns and go march on Churchill Downs, where they have the Kentucky Derby, and talking about he was going to shut down Churchill Downs if they didn't get freedom now. And some of the people in the gun community and some of the the patriots who love guns and love the Second Amendment, they were on their YouTube channel saying this guy that's calling him Grandmaster Jay as an informant. He's an agent. People got mad at them because they're like, oh, y'all just a bunch of rednecks. But those rednecks knew what they were talking about. They were like, he's an agent. It's obvious. Who calls himself Grandmaster Jay? Who names the coalition the No Effing Around Coalition? But okay, you can have that. They said it was a whole lot of them. But they were like, look at the way he handles a gun. He doesn't even know how to handle a gun. But he's going around establishing militia throughout the country, but particularly in Louisville, Kentucky, rallying up the troop, getting people upset. He's paid. That's what he was saying. I was with the rednecks on that one. Do you know when they say he didn't know how to handle guns? When my son used to study with them, learning how to handle guns, because they gonna protect this country, by golly. Don't you mess around with them. Them rednecks, honey, they will come for you for trying to mess with our country and our republic and our flag. You gonna F around and find out, talking about No Effing Around Coalition. So they had campaigns and YouTube channels teaching people how to live off the grid, how to protect yourself, and et cetera, et cetera. And they kept saying this guy calling himself Grandmaster J was not even teaching the people correctly. You do have a right to establish a militia, but you don't want to just go running roughshod, encouraging the people to shoot up places and try, without doing things the proper way. It turns out that this Grandmaster J from the NFAC, who came to Louisville, Kentucky, along with Antifa and Black Lives Matter and Until Freedom, marched the people around and told them they were going to shut down the Kentucky Derby. We're going to shut this SHIT down. We're going to take away all your money. Do you know what happened? They were rallying up to Churchill Downs with him as their leader. I interviewed some of the protesters from Black Lives Matter Until Freedom. I put it on my Facebook page. And the woman that's the head of Until Freedom, who I wasn't even sure if she was American. She was an East Indian. And I asked her, I was like, you over Until Freedom? She said, yes. I said, what do you all intend to accomplish exactly? Because they marched right in front of my house. I was on Weller Avenue. If you're in Louisville, Kentucky, it's like by Taylor Boulevard. My house was on Weller Avenue. They went from the park that was over near there, and they marched in front of me down to Taylor Boulevard over to Churchill Downs, where the Kentucky Derby was held. So I interviewed them. They was like, oh, we're going to march. The NFLC leader, Grandmaster J, is going to meet us there. So people from California, all over America were there. Because they were mad that the cops had unalived Breonna Taylor. And some of them were upset about what happened with George Floyd. But they didn't know that they paid agents of the Antifa Black Lives Matter was leading them into chaos. Because while they were marching and saying they're going to do this and do that, and I interviewed the East Indian lady that's over Until Freedom, asked her what she intended to do. Oh, we're going to march. We're going to shut them down. I was like, oh, okay. I'll be here when y'all get back. I stood right there. I stood right there as they marched and shouted and screamed and hollered. Because days before, leading up to the Kentucky Derby, they had torn up downtown, torn up ATM machines all over the city, campaigned on the Attorney General's lawn, and some of them got arrested because you don't just go running on somebody's lawn when they tell you to leave and you don't leave, you're going to get arrested. And the attorneys just, spoke up for them. People bailed them out. George Soros money bailed them out. So they went across my house. I interviewed some of them. They went to march to Kentucky Derby, saying they're going to shut it down. I went inside, had me a vegan meat sandwich with some potato chips, talked to the grandchildren, went right back out. Within the hour, they was coming back home. All that rah, and we going to tear stuff down and blowing horns and marching with their guns. They came back. It wasn't even a whole hour. Came right back past my house. I was like, what happened? I was like, no, I want y'all to tell me. I was like, why look like y'all disbanding? When I tell you they look like they were in defeat, they had their heads down, their guns were down, that they were drawn. They're going to shut down Kentucky Derby. So I interviewed some of them, the same ones that I interviewed on the way up and the way back. They said the guy that was over at NFLAC, when they got on the Kentucky, I don't know what they thought. They got to Churchill Downs where the Kentucky Derby was. The whole area was fenced off. They thought those rich Caucasian folk and rich boule black folk, Negroes, was going to allow them to disrupt their rituals at the Kentucky Derby and shut down their partying and whatever goes on those underground tunnels that come from the Brown Hotel. From the Brown Hotel, that rich hotel where all the elites stay, there's a tunnel that goes all the way from underground there to the Churchill Downs where they had the Kentucky Derby. They thought they was going to allow Until Freedom, Black Lives Matter, and Antifa and the No Effing Around Coalition to shut them down. Honey, they had everything blocked off with the National Guard and police officers protecting that area, mostly police officers. And the guy that was over the No Effing Around Coalition stood on the side with the officers. He led all these people astray thinking that he was going to help shut them down. And he was on the side with the officer standing right there. This is the report coming from them, from the from the Antifa Black Lives Matter Until Freedom March. They was like, he led us astray. Just hours before that, they were messing around with their guns that he had taught them to handle. And these people were shooting themselves in the foot, shooting themselves because they didn't know how to handle the gun. This is what I mean by we need to make sure we control our emotions and not be led astray, because the Black leaders that they give us are Boule members as part of the secret society. That's why Martin Luther King says, I fear I've led my people into a burning house. You don't fear it, you know it. He was friends with the Rothschilds. There are many pictures of MLK, Martin Luther King Jr., posing with the Rothschilds. And he even said that we're friends. They give us all leaders that they want us to have as they lead us astray. I don't care if you, what did Michael Jackson say? It doesn't matter if you're Black or white. No matter what your status is, they try to mislead us all. What's my point? Louisville was a mess. I saw one of my Louisville people, family, friends, colleagues, associates. Don't know you personally, but you're in Louisville. That's where I was. They let those people tear up the city. People don't know that a lawful protest is not rallying, it's not shouting, screaming, burning flags, shouting or doing mantras or casting spells upon you, saying, I can't breathe, or hands up, don't shoot, meaning you're surrendering. It's not casting a knee. A protest is actually paperwork where you enumerate or write down your grievance or your complaint. You get it notarized and you go to a process of getting your issue addressed. And there may be other methods to that. When you look at the etymology and Black Law's dictionary and do the historical research on a protest, it is not shouting, screaming, and rallying and tearing up things. But a lot of these governors and mayors allowed that type of stuff to happen. This is why I want you to look up February 8, 2020. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo speaks at the governor's conference, Mike Pompeo, February 8, 2020. Mike Pompeo, who is an ex-FBI director, said, I know about all the governors that's been complicit with the Chinese Communist Party, the CCP, and you've allowed chaos to ensue. You've allowed the CCP to infiltrate every segment of our society, whether it's education, research, banking, law, policies. You've allowed the CCP, you've even recruited CCP students who pose as just being benevolent, innocent students, but what they're doing is they're coming here, buying our land and selling out our secrets. I know the governors that were complicit. This is why governors and mayors are stepping down. I'm urging you to do the right thing because I have a report card from the CCP of how complicit you've been. And it's graded all of you from A to F on how complicit you've been with the Chinese Communist Party. Do the right thing. And he went on. This is great speech. That was in February 8, 2020. Did they listen? No. They let the CCP and all these other people or beings shut down the world and shut down America. Because the governors could have stopped it, but they allowed it to happen. But that's okay, because after everything shut down, unfortunately, we had a lot of people to pass away. When the government reopened, 400 million people defected from the Communist Chinese Party. And they celebrated in New York. And they call it Taidong. They were saying we're free, we're liberated, because some of them did not want to join the CCP. Some of them were either threatened, blackmailed, or they were born into it. And then there were some of them that wanted to, and they took bribes. They also bought land here in America and abroad. They bought military, land around the military. They bought farmland. They bought houses and complexes because China, which according to Dex Latimer, who's an economist, and I did research it, China was a superpower at least 3 times in world history. So they were trying to take back over. The CCP, not the benevolent party. There's a People's Party of the Republic of China, and then there's the Chinese Communist Party. They bought up land here. They really thought they were going to take back over as a superpower. That's why Trump had to go over there. He just came back to seal some deals, make some trade agreements, which last year he actually brokered a large trade deal between him and China, which opened the doors for the whole world to do trade deals with China, because China is the world's second largest economy. So that forced everybody else to bow when China agreed. So Trump had to go back there to broker some deals, to secure some things, to clean out some things over there, as well as talk to some of the financiers and people from ancient dynasties that's going to release wealth as we're releasing wealth, because there are dynasties and bloodlines that have been accumulating gold and wealth for a long time. That's why I'm telling you all, accumulate wealth. Health, get your health together. Getting those med beds, but eat well, get some herbs, get your health together, get your family together, and accumulate wealth. Because you never know if some beings are going to try to come back and enslave humanity. We're going to have at least 1,000 years of freedom, but what happens after that's up? That's between you and me. If we do the work we're supposed to do now spiritually to make ourselves whole, complete, loving, kind, but still being wise as a serpent and smart. You don't let anybody run roughshod over you, and start accumulating wealth. If there's another agenda to take over the earth plane and enslave humanity, you will have the wealth that's needed to not only help your family and your tribe and your community, but to save humanity, which is why Trump is meeting with certain bloodlines, White Dragon Society. They're not the only ones, other dynasties, so that when it's time, they're going to release the wealth. But when the Chinese Communist Party of China stood down, the following year, about 2023, Evergrande, China's largest real estate company, filed for bankruptcy in America. I did a report on that when it happened. I'm like, why did they file for bankruptcy in America? Because they own American owned or bought up some land, as well as the Arabs. And a lot of these bloodlines are the same or similar. I'm telling you, they use their hybrid children to usurp the wealth from the God beings that are called Americans here in America. So Evergrande filed for bankruptcy, I believe it was in 2023. Evergrande embattled Chinese real estate company. Was that 2023? I'm going to bring it up. But then they were forced to liquidate their assets. They thought they were going to control us. And this is one of the reasons they wanted us to get rid of the police department during 2020 when they was doing this defund the police. They knew we had an art and problems with policy enforcers, but they were trying to get us to get the police out before it was time so they can bring in their military, the CCP, which would have destroyed us. This is why President Trump said, no, we don't want to defund the police. That was in 2020. We got to weed out the bad apples and retrain them. But if you look up now, and I kept telling people then, hold off, keep your emotions in check. We know we got to get rid of policy enforcers, but this ain't the time, because until freedom, Black Lives Matter agents and Antifa, I'm not talking about the peaceful protesters. I'm talking about the ones who were paid agents. They're trying to destroy America. The police officers and the National Guard, they had to be released to get some peace, some order, some semblance of order, because we had a shutdown, we had curfew, all that. I told everybody, stay in the house, shut your mouth. What I mean by shut your mouth, get your energy under control. That's what Farmer Dre was telling us yesterday. When things happen, as rah-rah happens and massive hysteria, you have to control your emotions. Trump said at the right time, we're going to weed out the police. Well, if you look now, police departments all over America are downsizing and shutting down, many of them. And the duties are rolling over to the sheriff's department, because according to our lawful government, the Republic, the only entity that can enforce the law of the land are sheriffs and elected sheriffs of those that we put in place. not policy enforcers. But here's an article that was published, that was 2023. Struggling Chinese real estate firm Evergrande files for bankruptcy as crisis for sector grows. So they filed for bankruptcy, and then they were forced to liquidate either the following year or later that year. All these bloodlines have been concerned about what happens here in America. Now ask yourself why. Then ask your ancestors why, and ask yourself what you need to do to protect your family, your village, your community, and yourself. They wanted to become the superpower, but they had to first control America. Because if they controlled the 9 ether beings in America and enslaved the 9 ether beings in America, the first in this reality, beings that sprung from the soil that was seeded by higher beings, then they can come after everybody else. We're talking about people with dominant genes that are activated by the sun, from whom some races sprung, but not all, because some were created in labs and some were seeded by other beings outside of the earth plane. Hey, Ra-Ra, you watching me? Ra-Ra said, hi, Granny. Hey, Ra-Ra. Ra-Ra, is this making any sense to you as an 8-year-old? I am that I am says, I lived in DC for 40 years, participated in many protests, and there was never any energy of Black Lives Matter or Antifa. All protests were peaceful. That's awesome. That's awesome to hear. All in God's timing. And it's something when people just don't get you. I know it's hard to exist when they don't get you, but they're going to wake up, family. They're going to wake up. More needs to awaken. I agree. Sister Janine, our moderator, good to see you. Say, great son is not for losing weight. Oh, you're talking to someone else in the chat. I always wonder why so many of us talk ish about America. They aren't America. They are the United States. That's right. America is yours. It's you. Ooh, it's not them. Yeah, they're talking about against the corporation. They don't understand there's 2 different things. You all talking to each other. So everything's changing. It's working in our favor. I've been on for over 2 hours. I don't want to do that. I don't want to go too much longer. Let's see if we cover all our bases. I'm going to go over my notes. The government has been dissolved. Mayors are stepping down. Senators' office was raided. The FBI have raided all different government agencies, banks, ports, arresting individuals. Judges and attorneys are being arrested. Some of them are stepping down. Some of them have gotten fired. I talked to you about how the Treasury Department declared the government insolvent. And finally, some people are concerned about this new virus that's spreading. I've even seen articles, that says it's spreading rapidly. Just protect yourself. Somebody put in the comment section, ivermectin is a way to protect yourself. Thank you so much. Help you get rid of parasites and protect yourself from these things. Here's 5 things you know about the hantavirus from a Stanford medicine expert. A lot of these medical experts and judges and attorneys and Congress people, so-called lawmakers, are not even American. That's why the whole birthright citizenship was so important to them to protect, because a lot of them aren't even American. And we know that. You could even be an undocumented student and get a law degree in America and get scholarships and grants and get benefits while you do it. Stanford is one. I mentioned that before. Stanford is such place you can go and get a law degree, pass the British accredited registry. And then they come from other places. They come from other countries and somehow still can practice here. They just take a few courses. And I couldn't understand it because I was like, How is that allowable when usually people come from other countries, if they have a profession, a lot of times they end up driving taxis. Not if you're a lawyer, an attorney, because they all pass the bar, the British accredited registry. We were still under British control, just like many of these other nations. So now it makes sense. The immigration attorneys are going crazy right now. Immigration judges are going nuts right now. They are panicking. Not because they care about immigrants, but because they care about their pockets. They've been breaking the law to allow people to stay here and overstay their visas, to seek asylum unlawfully and illegally, to keep their children here beyond the time. I did a whole podcast on this because they try to make us feel guilty by saying if people overstayed their visa, they need to go home. They tried to make us feel guilty for saying birthright citizenship was a part of the 14th Amendment that was actually created for African-American children. After the Civil War, the children of African-American slaves who were really were prisoners of war could become a citizen. That was a trick in itself. That was part of the conjure war. That was magic. That was manipulation into getting us to call ourselves and our children citizens because we're sovereign, free white persons on the land. They wanted us to feel guilty, but these so-called judges who are administrators and attorneys were using the 14th Amendment to keep people here that weren't even supposed to be here, saying just because if you had children here, they're automatically a citizen. When the 14th Amendment was for the prisoners of war who are African Americans. It says that we did a whole deep dive on it. More importantly, if you're granted citizenship by a corporation that's illegal, unlawful, and treasonous, first of all, it doesn't matter because it's unlawful, treasonous. But this corporation that afforded people citizenship and privileges of the corporation is now defunct, bankrupt, insolvent, and non-existent. Citizenship, therefore, is defunct and non-existent. Now, maybe they'll grandfather people into something else. It's not my business. It's not my fight. On a spiritual level, it may be, but in this 3D body, it's not my business. But I did a report on this. Let me see if I can find it. Yes, it's called Do We Need Status Correction? Because that was something that somebody asked me. Let me show you something. Do we need status correction? In here, in this report, right here, where I have sunglasses on, do we need status correction? It says sovereign versus U.S. birthright citizenship, nationalization, DACA. And what I discovered, all of these statuses were temporary. Even though DACA, babies were sent over here, deferred action. So they're telling you to feel guilty if somebody was raised here after being sent here as a child all their life, and then they were deported. They're like, oh, we're supposed to be protected against deportation. I did the report. It did not say this was a path to citizenship. I did the report. We studied it together. All these statuses were temporary and only legal according to United States Incorporated, but not lawful according to the Republic. Therefore, all these statuses have to be re-examined. Deferred action for childhood arrivals. That's what DACA is. A program that allows certain undocumented immigrants who came to the United States as children to request temporary protection from deportation. Temporary. So they're crying, saying, I was supposed to be protected. That's all I know. It's my right to stay in America. No, my darling, it's not. And it's not our fault that the government, the United States Incorporated, misled you. First of all, the autogenous indigenous Americans who were considered prisoners of war did not invite all these people here. Consideration of deferred action for childhood arrivals. Those were the ones I was like, ooh, I don't know if that makes sense to send them back home if this is all they know. But I did a deep dive. A program that allows certain undocumented immigrants who came to the United States as children to requests can be denied, approved or denied, temporary protection. Then we looked up in my report that I did on sovereignty versus citizenship. What does temporary mean? I mean, we're adults. We know what it means. It means it's not permanent. It means there's a short time span. Temporary protection from deportation and work authorization. The time is up. This is what I mean. The conjure wars, the lies, the manipulation, making us think we have to feel guilty. That's over with. We even looked into naturalization, nationalization, because people are like, well, I'm going to get naturalized. Well, I'm going to get nationalized. Well, I'm going to get citizenship. Well, my birthright citizenship, all that is being questioned because, first of all, they use their own statutes, codes, and policies, United States Incorporated, to allow immigrants to come over here who were seeking better opportunities. Some of them came over here wealthy already. That's why in that pyramid I show you, you got all these people, all these other bloodlines and ethnicities above the Americans doing very well. They were granted help, money, access to our birth certificate bonds and to our social security numbers that's attached to central banks here in Tamaria, America. I don't know if they knew it or not, if they were, accessing our birth certificate bond, but they knew they was getting government grants and access and preferential treatment so that they can use the resources of this land from our bloodline to enrich themselves and send money to their bloodlines abroad and build up their nations. Now, I can understand people who were coming here for a better opportunity. It's just that the time is up. They can do whatever paperwork they want. It's up. It's over. They hanging on by a thread and they're trying to fight in courts, but it ain't working because those very judges that were granting immunity and allowing people to overstay and giving them asylum, they're being arrested. I'm telling you, it's bloodline wars, conjure wars, as Chief Rod Hayes would say. He calls it conjure wars. I call it bloodline wars. Same thing. In my opinion. When people came from the islands, most of us did the paperwork to stay here legally. I understand. So people from the islands, in my opinion, what I've heard is still part of the Americas. The other side of that is in order to get the wealth from your nation, we're hearing you have to be there wherever your bloodline is. The second side of that is what's legal is not lawful. So you can do legal paperwork, but legalities, statutes, codes, and policies are part of the United States Incorporated. They afford privileges. They cannot afford rights. And they're only granting what's legal paperwork. That's why everything has to be re-examined, because lawful and legal are two different things. Legal has to deal with the United States Incorporated. Lawful has to do with the Republic, our Constitution, which is based on the laws of land. So I respect people. I respect the fact that a lot of people did do the legal paperwork. I do respect that. What I'm saying is a lot of the citizenship and paperwork processes are being under scrutiny right now, and they're going to have to figure out how to work it out, because I do get it that some people they follow the legalities and they haven't caused any problems. They've abided by the rules. Some of them assimilated. Many of them that we know did not assimilate. They didn't care about us. They made fun of the autogenous original Black folk and made sure they delineated and said, we not y'all. We we are part of this island or part of this country. We work harder than y'all. Not you, but many people have. We work harder than y'all Americans. I've even heard them say we're better than y'all. But now that that's coming down to the wire, a lot of people trying to tether themselves to Americans saying, oh, I'm American just like you. You're a United States citizen. You're property of the United States Incorporated, but not attached to the land. Now, America, though, to the person in the comments point, is comprised of many different areas, though, like, some of the islands, North, South, Central America, right? However, in order to receive a lot of the wealth and the benefits that are coming, people will have to be a national. They will have to go to the land of their nativity, their nationality. This is why when Guyana was giving out benefits, they said you have to be a Guyanan national. And if you're abroad, you must come home. That's what's going to happen in this new reality. Many people are going to have to go home. If they want to stay, they might have to do something else, which I'm not privy to. But it's really, really good that people did things legally, because that was the system under which we live. It's just that legal is not lawful. So it still can be questioned. It still can be dismantled. Oh, I hear what you're saying. You're saying Jamaica, people from the islands. I hear what you're saying. Haiti, they're part of Turtle Island. Yeah. The interesting thing, though, is a lot of them, even though were part of Turtle Island, tried to make us feel like they were better than us. And they made sure they said it and stayed away from us and disrespected a lot of us. So they're going to have to do a paradigm shift and a mind change. But still, they did legal paperwork. You know what I'm saying? Not lawful. Now, things are going to be reworked in a new reality as now Turtle Island is coming back together. And, even abroad, you have Russia bringing the Ukraine back under their umbrella, because as they were part of the Soviet Union. But first, you got to do a massive cleanup. So all the stuff that was unlawful or that was legal, but still didn't go through, processes that need to be done, or they weren't invited here or whatever. Before you can get to the bottom of things and fix things, you have to get rid of the chaos. So if you got all these different people, different cultures, different languages, different ways, different energies, different traditions here, then there's no order. That's why I say it's not my fight. I hear what you're saying about, Turtle Island's comprised of, many different like Caribbean peoples or whatever. But I just want to iterate that legal and lawful are two different things. So we have to revisit certain things. My point was that you have a lot of people that overstayed their visas, and judges and attorneys allowed that to go on. But now a lot of these immigration attorneys and judges, they're scrambling. Great comment. Thank you. Tell me what you think. What do you think? If a person is still American or part of Turtle Island and they did the legal paperwork, should they be left alone? What do you all think? I'll put in the comment section. What about people from all over who overstayed their visas? Should they be left alone? What about people? I'm just asking questions. What are your thoughts? At the end of the day, in order to receive the benefits that many of you need and want for your bloodline, you return to wherever your nationality. But I hear what you're saying. You're saying your nationality is American, so maybe you can stay here. I'm trying to look at your comments, but I'm having some issues. And I said I wasn't going to be on long today. Okay. Now what's happening is I'm trying to get to the video, but I can't. I'm having problems with my computer. Can y'all see me? So I'm back, I think. There I am. There I am. Okay, getting messages. Thank you all so much for staying with me on this live. Everyone talked to us. It's all over social media. They really did. They said they were in close proximity to whiteness, or they were considered white. They had white status. They're even telling you, we thought we were, right with the white people or right underneath them, but above black people. Like, they're bold. And they told you that when they came here, they were briefed to stay away from black folks. And they talked about us and said we were lazy and we don't like to work. I'm not saying everybody. I'm saying many races and so-called ethnicities and nations of people. And we took it. But they were under spells too. But it's over now. They would mate with you, have sex with you. But that's a part of the war. Bring their men over here to mate with the women, then the children become confused. And then they therefore have allegiance to the other parent that's not from this landmass. So I said that some of them really did come over here and get a lot of benefits. Most of them did. Many of them did. But some of them came over here with money before they even got benefits from the government. And I'll show you this pyramid. I keep showing it. East Indians, Indian American at the top, the Dravidians, a bloodline, specific bloodline of the human race. Filipinos, they right there with 83,000. Indian Americans made 105,000. This is a few years ago. Filipino Americans, 83,300. Taiwanese, 82,500. Sri Lankan Americans, they like to put American on attached to that. They sure will wave their flag though. Here in America, Sri Lankans, 74,600 on average per the household. Japanese Americans, 72,000. Malaysian Americans made about 70,000 on average per year, per household. Chinese Americans, 69,000. Would seem like it'd be higher than that. Pakistani Americans, 66,000. White Americans or Caucasians that are here in America, 59,000. They weren't even at the top. That's why, they upset too. Like, wait a minute, I'm America. I've been in this landmass longer than all y'all. I bet you people starting to understand how we felt. We way at the bottom. Korean Americans, 59.2. Indonesian Americans, 57.5. At the average American, 56,200. Bangladeshi Americans, 50,000. Nepali Americans, 43,000. Hispanic Latino Americans, 43,000. Oh, Nepali, 43.5. Hispanics, 43. So-called African Americans, which are the prisoners of war here in Temeria, the 9 ether beings that sprung from the soil, also known as the original American or the autochthonous indigenous copper-colored races discovered by Europeans. That's the 1828 Webster's definition of American. But they were given black status because black means you're a slave, you're dead, you have no standing in law, according to their law dictionary. Then we became known as African American, which is actually categorization of meats and produce. All right, Jesse Jackson. Maybe that's why he did eventually pass away during Black History Month. 35,000 way at the bottom. Why? Well, don't tell us it's because, and I've even said, at least they got a marriage culture, everybody else, and they got more college education. But the real deal was we finding out now that these people way at the top was getting food stamps, welfare checks per person, jobs, scholarships earmarked for minorities, DEI job, diversity, equity, inclusion, that was earmarked for minorities, because when they come here, they're minor in number. Okay. They're upset because the gig is up. Yes, a lot of them are upset because their children were here and they thought they were going to be able to stay tethered to the land through their children, or they filed some paperwork, or not, because a lot of them are undocumented. And the government was in cahoots with him. Why? Because these bloodlines were in cahoots with each other. Whether it was a war, agreements, whatever. But notice where they all wanted to come. Temeria, America, Amorica, Temeria, Turtle Island. Not just because the wealth is here, the energy is here, the 9 ether beings are here. They wanted to unalive as many as possible. That's why they put abortion clinics in certain communities and had us singing and dancing to certain music and eating certain food called soul food, which really doesn't enrich the soul. It causes your soul to leave the body. That's why you fall asleep when you eat soul food. You need your being, your ethereal being cannot tolerate the soul food. So you go to sleep. So your being, you can refresh. But they wanted to take out as many as they could so they can have your organs, your energy, etc. But leave enough here to keep the planet vibrating on a high frequency, because your energy resonates with the sun, the water, the land, the minerals, the rare earth minerals, the stones, the precious metals, all that, because you created it and you're one with it and you vibrate on it. So if every other being can come here and keep enough of the 9 ether beings alive, they can have the benefits of who you are and what your ancestors seeded here. The good news, though, is that every land has something there. We need to remove the embargoes and the sanctions so they can have access to their wealth. It's not those people's fault. It's the government's fault. It's the beings that enslaved humanity and tried to enslave the 9 ether beings that are in Temeria. Those that were in power. But now the veil has been lifted. The conjure wars are over. The spells no longer work. We're all vibrating on higher frequencies. We're learning to communicate with each other and love each other. But please know that love does not mean you're supposed to let people run over you, cross your borders illegally, tell you what to do, or control your mind. I can love you over there with your people, your culture, your frequencies, your agreements. Because the thing is, when you have borders that's just lax, then people bring their behavior and their ways over to influence the tribes that may be not just immune. I don't want to say they're immune to other ways, but they can get sick. They can get sick from other cultures because they don't have the immunity. They can get sick from other cultural ways because it's against their bloodline. And I keep equating this with, if you want open borders, then that means you want open doors. That means you will keep the door of your house open so anybody can come in and out as they will. And you might say, well, I'll keep it open, but I'll say you can come in, you can't. But how can you manage all those energies if you just got your door open 24/7? The door of your house. Would you leave the door of your house open so anybody can run in and out? No, you will have rules and regulations for who can come in, how long they can stay, how they have to behave in your house. They must speak your language. They must assimilate. They must respect and honor your traditions. And they must know their place when they're in your house. First of all, they must have been invited by you. Because if they haven't been invited by the man or woman of the house, it doesn't matter who they are, how nice, benevolent, kind, religious, it doesn't matter. If I did not invite you to come into my house, once I realize you're there uninvited, I'm going to ask you kindly to leave. And if you don't kindly leave my house, we're going to have problems. It's the same about in nations. They have cultures, they have behaviors, they have traditions. They don't want those traditions muddied by other people coming in telling them what to do. That's why we had to remove U.S. aid, because the United States Incorporated, bunch of reptilians, draconians, archons, and God knows what else was going into these other countries telling them to take on behaviors that are ungodly, like anal sex. They didn't even believe in that. Or taking these inoculations that was unaliving them. It was against their ways, their culture, their immunity couldn't take it. Or when beings came here and made us sick because we're not immune to beings who are new races that were just came out of caves. What the heck? Getting all these texts and messages. So people think you're being disingenuous, you lack empathy, unkind, whatever, when you say you got to have order, law and order. But you have to have order and you have to have laws. Legality are not laws. So here's what's happening. The government has been dissolved. It's insolvent. It's bankrupt. It's defunct. It's over. It has collapsed. Now the governor of your house is you. The government is you. Sovereign beings means that you have reign, rule, and control over your life. So God, or your creator, granted you sovereignty when you were seated on this planet. But in America, the republic enforces the idea and the concept and the knowing that you're sovereign. You control. Now you're over your own banks. That's why banks all over the world really are downsizing. In fact, I got some intel about how I think Bank of America, all their branches were going to be closed. They said temporarily for some time, but it didn't give you the timeline. So a lot of things are closing. Companies are closing. Now you have to be in control of your own life and your own reality. I said I was going to go out with Motu Proprio, but I think I'll just show you that video. If I could find it. Show you just a part of it. So you can see what Pope Francis said. This is what Pope Francis said when he sent a letter in 2014. And then Trump reiterated, and I read to you what he said about the government being non-existent. They all, what did Trump say? Let's see if I could find that. This is to inform all patriots. We're going to end with this. This is to inform all patriots that effective immediately, all governments and government corporations are hereby dissolved. Look up the word dissolved. Due to a breach of oath. Additionally, all statutory and foreign laws are also dissolved. The only legal framework that remains in effect are constitutional laws. That's the only lawful framework. As outlined in Article 61 of the Magna Carta, he says the directive is specifically for corporate bodies and government workers. Any government corporate body, including policy enforcers or police, judges, lawyers, and any of individuals operating in these capacities must cease operations immediately. Those who continue to operate after this notice will be liable for protection for fraud. Prosecution will be liable for prosecution for fraud and breach of oath. It is imperative that all governmental workers comply with this directive. Failure to adhere may result in serious consequences, including potential military action. Let us unite in upholding our constitutional rights and ensuring stability of our freedoms. This is the end of notice. Thank you for all those who, if you sent me a Cash App, I appreciate it. There are some issues with Cash App. If you desire to send a donation, you can send it to PayPal through my email address or Zelle, which is kiapruitt@gmail.com. KIAPRUITT@gmail.com. Now listen to this here. This is on my YouTube channel, Motu Proprio. It says, Pope Francis, the United States is collapsing. Dr. Pruitt reads Motu Proprio.
And the United States Corporation actually was ultimately owned by the Vatican.
This is my voice, this is my radio voice.
And because of that, that gives you just a little background to let you know why the Vatican or the Pope from the Vatican had the authority to write this letter. This letter came out, I want to say July 4th, 2014, and it was sent to President Obama at that time. It confirmed that the United States was operating under a corporation. And as I had told you all before, that corporation was actually registered in Delaware as a
But speed it
nonprofit
up.
religious organization, and it was actually filed with the Secretary of State, but has since been bankrupted and defunct. So this letter confirms that General Carter Ham will be heading the new republic whenever the republic is announced, and that this announcement should come along with the Nasara announcement. As you all know, on this channel, we've been waiting for an emergency broadcast announcement of some sort that to come on and let us know about this war against the deep state that has been occurring behind the scenes. And you all have heard of Derek Johnson, who is our former military serviceman, who has been all over social media telling us that there has been a covert operation going on where the military has been taking down the deep state. So you all know I've been reporting this for years, and I've been promising you that I did have this letter, that I found a letter that they call Motu Proprio that came from from Pope Francis, sent to then President Obama, July 4th, 2014. Now, I first learned about this letter from the Grand Sheikh of the Moors, Taj Tariq Bey, so I give reverence and honor to the Grand Sheikh for presenting this to us. You can find him and Dr. G, his very good friend, at the YouTube website called I think it's called Awakening Minds. I think that's it, but I will put that in the comment section as well, and I will come back on to let you know what the name of that channel is. But let's get into this letter. This letter was sent by, again, Pope Francis. So it says, Civil Orders, July 4th, 2014, issued to all members of the Domestic Police Forces, U.S. Marshal Service, the Provost Marshal, members of the American Bar Association, and the Armed American Forces. These organic American states of the Union, known as the United States of America Major, exercising plenary civil power upon the land hereby appointed, General Carter F. Ham to lead and command the Grand Army of the Republic and its successors under the guidance of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and with their full support. Should it become necessary to suppress commercial mercenary forces operating under the guise of being federal government agencies, including but not limited to the Department of Homeland Security, the Federal Emergency Management Administration, the Internal Revenue Services, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, General Ham shall assume immediate command and control of all armed forces and services owed to the United States of America Major, stationed in North America, and shall join them under his command as the Grand Army of the Republic. All forces of air, land, and sea are to be employed. Any cost or loss suffered as a result of deployment of the Grand Army of the Republic shall be charged as stipulated prior. All efforts shall be made by the Grand Army of the Republic to spare life and property while undertaking any action whatsoever within the states of the Union without exception. The GAR, or Grand Army of the Republic, is uniquely enabled by these orders to operate on the land of the 50 organic states for the purposes of securing the lives and property of the American states and the American state citizens. The GAR is not a foreign army and is composed primarily of American state citizens. If required to take field position, the local commanders shall make every effort to communicate the basis of their authority and the reasons for their presence on American state soil to ensure a prompt cessation of hostilities and a widespread understanding of the usurpations and acts of fraud which have led to any conflict. All parties must be brought to understand the nature of the federal government, the limitations of its authority, and their obligation to act in favor of the organic states of the Union. The Grand Army of the Republic shall continue to operate under General Order 100, known as the Lieber Code, extant from the pen of the last Republic President, Abraham Lincoln. No orders, executive or otherwise, issued by Barack H. Obama pretending authority on the land of the American states while operating as, quote, President, end quote, of the United States, all capital letters, corporation, nor as the President of the United States of America minor, are owed any performance by the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Ham, or any ordinary. All plainly stated grants of contractual authority evident in the Constitution for the United States of America remain in place, subject to good faith performance of the accompanying obligations and treaties.
I spread it up just for an interest of time, but I'm dropping the link in the chat.
Mr. Obama is the president of a governmental service corporation under contract to provide stipulated services to the organic states and is on their payroll. He otherwise acts as a foreign dignitary representing the United States of America minor. In neither of these capacities is he allowed any granted authority to impose upon American state citizens, endanger American state property, or command mercenary forces on American state soil, however veiled as federal civilian services agencies. We require the Joint Chiefs of Staff and General Ham to commence measures to disarm federal civilian agency personnel and to seize control of the vast stockpiles of arms which have been improperly amassed by the Department of Homeland Security, FEMA, and other agencies employed by the all capital letters United States. The only federal agency allowed free egress on the land of the American states is the United States Marshal Service, and then only when their personnel are engaged in their duty to protect the United States mail and sworn to act as constitutional officers. All other federal agency personnel are limited to unarmed service until further notice. We direct the Joint Chiefs of Staff to communicate these first two general civil orders directly to Mr. Obama, the members of the U.S. Congress, the administrators of all federal agencies, the members of the United States Supreme Court, and those acting as governors to compel their rapid understanding and cooperation. Any expense or damage incurred by these organic states or any American state citizen as a result of action undertaken by any federal agency personnel acting as armed mercenaries on American state soil will be understood as the result of violent crimes committed against the peaceful inhabitants of the land and will incur immediate judgment, liquidating the assets of International Monetary Fund, known as the IMF, and the Federal Reserve, all capital letters, in payment of the stipulated reparations.
For those just joining, I'm reading Pope Francis' letter to President Obama 2014 called Motu Proprio, about how their time was up and they must cease and desist.
Such crimes shall also be considered contract default, increasing the public debt subject to bounty. Any and all corporate officers of the United States or any successor organizations inheriting federal service contracts who support, condone, or promote such crimes against the American states or against American state citizens shall be subject to arrest and prosecution for commercial and violent crimes. All foreign officials operating as elected or appointed officials of the United States of America minor who support, condone, or promote such crimes against the American states or against American state citizens shall be subject to arrest, confiscation of their assets, and deportation to Puerto Rico, Guam, or such other states as may be willing to receive them. Keep in mind, you all, that President 45 had written executive orders that, if you remember, reflect these papers or this letter from the Pope. Let's go on. Such foreign officials include members of the American and British bar associations who were licensed to act as privateers against the interests of the American states and the American state citizens from 1845 to 2013 in flagrant breach of trust. All such licenses are now extinguished. Remember, I told you the Pope said that everybody with a British Bar Association's license was supposed to step down and cease and desist. Listen to what he says. All such licenses are now extinguished. Members of the Bar Association are required to cease and desist assaults against the American states and American state citizens and shall be subject to arrest, confiscation, and deportation otherwise. Stay with me, family. I'm almost done.
Arrest, confiscation, and deportation. So a lot of these people that's leaving here have committed crimes and crimes against humanity. And if you listen to their testimony closely, especially those that's coming on YouTube, they tell you, I was a criminal or I went to prison, but I still wanted to stay in America. And some of them have stayed here illegally and unlawfully. It was already written. And they were only supposed to be here temporarily.
Insomuch as corporate officers operating the United States of America Incorporated and the United States, all capital letters, have contrived under conditions of fraud and semantic deceit to revenue the estates of the American states and living American state citizens to the foreign jurisdiction of the United States of America minor, they are found guilty of capital crimes, including acts of fraud and treason committed between 1933 and 1945, and are condemned posthumously.
They have committed treason and are condemned posthumously. Those were Pope Francis's words, not mine. I'm reading his letter directly. Now, he's since gone, and we have a new Pope, Pope Leo, who actually comes from a certain bloodline. We're going to talk about that. That's why he's from Chicago, the Shigi bloodline. But Pope Francis said they committed treason.
Insomuch as elected officials operating the United States of America minor have similarly committed war crimes against the American states and their peaceful inhabitants during the same period, they stand condemned posthumously. No enforcement upon any American state or any American state citizen is owed as a result of any act of any Congress operating as the sovereign government of the United States of America minor, nor as the board of directors or board of trustees of any incorporated entity whatsoever. All these estates and estates in capital letters erroneously believed to represent the American states and the American state citizens, and which were conveyed by fraud and legal deceit to the United States of America minor, and more recently to the city-states of the United Nations, are revenued without exception to the geographically defined American states and the American state citizens, where they shall remain in perpetuity as assets belonging to the rightful and unlawful beneficiaries. All legal fiction entities, however structured and named after the American states and American state citizens, are returned to them and their control, free and clear of any debt, promise, encumbrance, or obligation alleged against them as a result of false claims made in their behalf by the officers of the United States of America Incorporated and the United States, all capital letters, Incorporated.
We're going to be free and clear of any debt.
Or by any foreign officials operating the United States of America minor or the United States city-state falsely claiming to represent them or having jurisdiction over them. We note that the current circumstance is in part the result of criminal acts engaged in 150 years ago, which resulted in the commercial enslavement of African Americans who were summarily claimed as chattels, backing the United States government debt in the wake of the Civil War. So for all the people who say that the United States citizens known, or the indigenous people known or classified as Black Americans or African Americans, were not considered slaves and did not back the debt of the government. This is Dr. Pruitt's commentary. Listen to what the Pope said, and I only have one more paragraph to read, and then I need to wrap up and go. Listen one more time.
Basically, he's saying that they used,
we note that current circumstance,
they used African Americans after the Civil War as chattel property or as
Egypt,
cattle.
Many.
That's why we were considered African American. That's the categorization of African Americans considered chattel, cattle, produce. That's what producers, that's the categorization. Use them to pay off the debt. Let me see. I was going to read that one more time. Hope I didn't go by too.
So when you keep hearing all this talk, we're going to have a World War III. Oh my God, this is
hold on. Wait a minute. I mean to go back.
And the three-letter organizations along with it. Now, we knew that the military,
let me see.
American and otherwise, and to operate as a rogue state among the nation claims that have been made against the American states and the American state citizens that we are dealing with today. It is uniquely fitting that the Grand Army of the Republic is recalled to settle this circumstance in favor of the people. Now, friends, family, foes, hustlers, ear hustlers, listeners, and any otherwise people who are listening today, I have read to you a letter that the Pope Francis, wrote July 4th, 2014, and sent to the President then of the United States Incorporated, who was at the time President Barack Obama. In summary, the letter states that President Barack Obama was the president of a foreign entity, which was Washington, D.C., or the United States of America Incorporated, that was incorporated in 1871. According to this letter, he is not or was not the president of the Republic, and neither were any of the presidents before.
You hear my grandchildren in the background snapping my fingers, telling them to be quiet on this recording.
Donald J. Trump came along. He told us that he was in a war against the media and against the United States Incorporated, and that it was his job to take down the deep state, the mainstream media, the United States Corporation, the Federal Reserve banking system, and the three-letter organizations along with it.
Okay, so that's it. I just wanted to read that to you. I want to see if I could replay because he said they use African Americans, but then he's going to say, furthermore, it was their policy to use everybody as chattel property.
Instead of freeing African Americans, the sum total result of the Civil War was to vastly prohibition against both peonage and slavery. It had war. So for all the people who say that the United States citizens know, or the indigenous people known or classified as Black Americans or African Americans, were not considered slaves and did not back the debt of the government. This is Dr. Pruitt's commentary. Listen to what the Pope said, and I only have one more paragraph to read, and then I need to wrap up and go. Listen one more time at what he said. We note that the current circumstance is in part the result of criminal acts engaged in 150 years ago, which resulted in the commercial enslavement of African Americans who were summarily claimed as chattels or chattel slaves, backing U.S. government, quote unquote, debt in the wake of the Civil War. Here's the last paragraph. Despite every act of abolition and declaration of prohibition against both peonage and slavery, it has been the policy of the U.S. government to enslave its citizens, that's all of us, everybody in America, both African American and otherwise, and to operate as a rogue state among the nations of the world.
He said it has been our policy to enslave all its citizens and to operate as a rogue entity in the world.
All of us, everybody in America, both African American and otherwise, and to operate as a rogue state among the nations of the
rogue state among the nations
world.
Of the world.
Instead of freeing African Americans, the sum total result of the Civil War was to vastly expand public sector ownership of slaves, giving rise to the outrageous and improper claims that have been made against the American states and the American state citizens that we are dealing with today. It is uniquely fitting that the Grand Army of the Republic is recalled to settle this.
So the Grand Army of the Republic, it says, is uniquely fitting to make sure the Grand Army of the Republic settles this issue. That's who we're calling the white hats of the military today.
Circumstance in favor of the people. Now, friends, family, foes, hustlers, ear hustlers, listeners, and any otherwise people who are listening today, I have read to you a letter that the Pope Francis, wrote July 4th, 2014, and sent to the president then of the United States Incorporated, who was at the time President Barack Obama.
That's it. So I just wanted to let you all see that what President Trump is saying about the government being dissolved and how they were rogue elements actually is fitting, because this is exactly what Pope Francis said in 2014. President Trump said, effective immediately. That's when he first came back. Remember, he came back January after the inauguration. He won the elections in 2024. Supreme Court had overturned the Chevron doctrine, limiting the powers of the government, calling the government treasonous. They ruled the following month in July that state-sponsored banks didn't have to be a part of the Federal Reserve. They can issue out their own gold-backed currencies. Trump came back, signed 225 executive orders, created the Sovereign Wealth Fund, created of stocks, real estates, bonds, that rare earth minerals, precious metals, et cetera, money from tariffs that he said he's going to return and release to the people. So all governments and government corporations, President Trump said as soon as he came back, are hereby dissolved due to breach of oath. And all foreign laws are dissolved. So now we have been a part of Britain. All of that's dissolved. The only thing that's lawful now is the Constitution for the United States. The Constitution for the United States, the Constitution of America. The Constitution for the Republic of America. That's what's lawful. He said the only thing that remained in effect are the constitutional laws as outlined in Article 61 of the Magna Carta. He said that the directive was specifically for corporate bodies and government workers. That's why government workers are losing their jobs or taking early retirement. And he said, if you are continue to operate after I'm telling you, you all have to stand down, including police, judges, and lawyers. If you stay in your position, President Trump said, you're liable for prosecution. Motu Proprio, Pope Francis said, if you don't cease and desist, the Grand Army of the Republic is going to deal with you, lock you up, and deport you. Send you to Puerto Rico or whatever nation will have you. That's what he said. And what I would, some people that's being deported from here are masquerading as normal, everyday people. Some of them were not. Some of them were involved in some crimes we will not know about which we will not know. Not all of them, some of them. So he said, President Trump said, all government workers must comply with the directive to stand down, because the government is being shut down. In other words, it's over. You're now in control of your own life. And now your republic is what's lawful for the Constitution, the laws of the land, based on the laws of the land in your land. So that whole song, this land is your land, this land is my land, from New York Island to California, whatever they saying, trying to claim rights to this land. No, it ain't your land and my land. This here is the land of my ancestors and anybody we allow or invite to come to do business with us. That's why President Trump is saying, if you coming back, you got to come back the right way. All nations are saying that. They're just not making noise about it. They've always said, if you come here, you got to come the right way. They've always said, if you come on a visa, when your visa's up, you got to go home or you go to jail, and you go to jail effective immediately, and you're going to pay their cops some ransom. Only in America, they were getting away with doing whatever they wanted and running roughshod over here. All nations have laws. All nations have limits to visas, to visits, visas. And they have a limit on whether you can. I keep hearing people say, I bought land in Africa. No, you didn't. You're leasing the land. Because if you're not blood from that bloodline, from a tribal bloodline in that landmass, you can only lease the land up to 99 years. I don't care if you're farming in that country. I don't care if they invited you to farm there. Zimbabwe. They allow all these people to come from Europe to farm in Zimbabwe. Their time was up. That's why they got expelled from the country. Not because nobody was trying to be racist against white farmers. Your lease was up because your slave master allowed you to come to that landmass to enjoy the freedoms of that landmass, as well as the resources, and to feed your bloodline, because some of your bloodline don't even know where you came from. You might have been planted in a country in Europe, but you don't know where your bloodline came from. So the overlords allowed you to come to Zimbabwe to farm so you can feed your bloodline and lay claims to that land, thinking that people were going to forget and do conjure wars and magic and all that on the people. Some, not even, you don't even know it, unbeknownst to you, but your forefathers knew it and the overlords knew it. So when the time was up and the 99 years was up, just like the years of people enslaved in America is up, bloodline families and otherworldly beings, it's up, it's over. But it's over for the conjure wars, all over. For the enslavement of the planet, all over. It's up. You still need to be careful who you mating with, having relations with, marry, and entering covenant with, because all of them don't have, some of them come from bloodlines that's in a war against yours, and they don't have your best interest at heart. And even if they do, the blood from who they are, the energy may try to overtake you. And when you have children, those children that you think is going to have allegiance to you may have allegiance to your enemy. So you got to be very careful who you mate with. All families have always said that. Whether it's right or wrong, that's relevant. If anybody mates or enter in a covenant with you, or they come in your house or on your lands, across your borders, they should be able to some degree assimilate. And if they can't assimilate or melt in with your culture, your family, your religious or political conviction, if they cannot assimilate, they should at the very least, be respectful and honorable, or else they have to go home, or else they can't enter your bloodline. That's common sense. Used to be common practice. We've forgotten that. So now that the government is dissolved, and now the rogue element, you heard Pope Francis say we've been rogue elements causing terror basically upon the whole world. Now that their time is up, they've been deported, not just from the landmass, but they've been expelled from the earth plane. The portals will be closed. We already live underneath the dome. And yes, it will be now, it's a golden dome, a more secure dome. We enter the golden era. Everybody can't just come through here. Every energy can't come through here, because even benevolent people might have a bloodline that's speaking from them, or a spirit that may not be able to get along with your spirit. But now everything is done away with. Everybody's sovereignty is going to be restored. Everybody's wealth is going to be restored, and everybody will learn to live in harmony as we live in this 1,000 years of peace. While we're living in this 1,000 years of peace, we need to continue to advance technology. We need to advance our spirituality. We need to continue to evolve and elevate. We need to continue to come up with more experimentation and doing some scientific developments. We need to accumulate wealth. We need to get along with the planet and be in harmony with the planet. But it starts with you and me. We need to make sure our minds and our hearts are in a nice, harmonious place. But the government is dissolved. Government, govern, control, meant the mind. No more mind control, no more conjure wars, no more casting spells, no more magic to enslave you. Their time is up. So since their time is up, your time is here. Our rise is their fall. That's what we talked about with Chief Rod Hayes just 2 days ago. So my name is Dr. Kia Pruitt. Thank you for all of you who sent me a gift. Some of you tried to send me cash apps. For some reason, they flagged my account. So some of those are being returned. If you did send it and it got returned, I'm glad they returned it. I apologize that there was some confusion. They said they're working on that now. Thank you so much for all of you that sent me a cash app. But some of you circumvented that, worked around it even. Thank you so much. You sent a gift to my PayPal. I did shout out somebody who gave me a gift to PayPal or Zelle. My email address is kiapruitt@gmail.com. We're free. We're liberated. Now we just have to start walking like it, acting like it, talking like it. Somebody was like, well, why are the courts still going on? Because the remnant is still trying to maintain their control. Police officers, some of them are being arrested and their departments are being downsized. What we do in the interim is we make sure we control our emotions and we operate on high vibrational frequencies, because as our frequencies are high, these other beings cannot exist or coexist with us. And as we proclaim our freedom, I'm free. That's why I said hashtag freedom now. Put hashtag freedom now in the comments section. Hashtag freedom now. We're free right now. The more we say it, the more we'll know it. The more we know it, the more we say it. I am sovereign. I am wealthy. I am healthy. I am wise. I am thriving. The more you say it, the more clear it becomes to all the energies around you that it's a reality, and it will become a reality. You are a creator. You control your reality. You can usher in peace and prosperity. You have the power to do that. If I be lifted up, I'll draw all men unto me. Means if I lift up my thoughts, my vibrations, I'll draw all manifestations to me. I'll bring them into my reality. Thank you, family, for listening. Thank you for all the gifts through Zelle, PayPal. Send it to my email, kiapruitt@gmail.com. Thank you for all the cash apps. I love you. Go out and make this a great day, family. Thank you for joining us. I love you. Happy Friday. Yay!
For one and all, Dr. Kia shows the way to a brighter, freer day. Through her channel, knowledge flows, breaking chains that hold us close, teaching paths to abundance and wealth, guiding others to free themselves. Soul tribe rising, hear her call, raising vibrations for one and all. Dr. Kia shows the way to a brighter, freer day. From currencies to investments divine, she's helping her tribe to realign with wisdom, ancient and new, showing what we all can do. Soul tribe rising, hear her call, raising vibrations for one and all. Dr. Kia shows the way to a brighter, freer day. Soul tribe rising, hear her call, raising vibrations for one and all. Dr. Kia lights the way to a new and brighter day.
Bye-bye, Soul Tribe. Happy Friday. Go out and make this a great day and have an amazing weekend. See you on the other side.